Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Simulating the Apocalypse Era, I create a new body refining system. Chapter 81. It's a good knife. You will also be killed by the sword soon. Chi Dao appeared, holding a sky-slaying knife and standing on a big star, looking down at the huge and boundless star-swallowing ancestor insect below. At this time, he learned from the divine thoughts coming from the heaven-slaying sword that Wuzontian was not dead and hid in the forbidden land of God. It was a restricted area. I couldn't enter. I was blocked by a powerful being. He said that he had a cause and effect with Wuzontian and wanted to save his life. Tian's sword explained to Chi Dao. The forbidden land. Restricted area. This is the first time Chi Dao has learned about the existence of a restricted area. It seems that the water inside is very deep. However, so far, no one has appeared in the restricted area, and he feels quite strange. It doesn't matter. After killing this old monster, I will personally go to the restricted area. If no one is allowed in the restricted area, then the restricted area will be demolished. Chi Dao said to the heaven-slaying sword, true self-confidence is unparalleled in the world. It doesn't matter what restricted area you are in, you will be wiped out in one fell swoop. We are all enemies in the world, so why not have a few more? Otherwise, he is afraid that this cause and effect will not end and there will be troubles in the future, so it is better to eradicate it as soon as possible. Bei. At this time, the face of the Lord of the Abyss was quite distorted and he was very unwilling. He knew very well that the heaven-slaying sword in Chi Dao's hand was too terrifying, almost approaching the level of an immortal weapon, and it was impossible to stop Chi Dao with the scepter in his hand. In fact, not even the star-eating ancestor insect can stop it. It has just recovered and most of its power has not yet been exerted. Fight. Success or failure depends on this. This star-devouring progenitor insect has devoured countless stars and star domains, and has already grown to an unfathomable level. If it were to show its strength in ancient times, it would be able to eat even half-immortal characters, no matter who you are. The Lord of the Abyss has a small calculation. The next moment, he suddenly saw a cold light blooming. It was Chi Dao who came over with a sky-slaying knife and cut off the sea of stars with one knife. Puff! The Lord of the Abyss was knocked over directly. This knife almost split him into two pieces. Large swaths of holy blood spilled directly into the starry sky, extinguishing countless stars. Ah, you forced me to do this. Don't even think about living. Let's go on the road together. The Lord of the Abyss is crazy and will do whatever it takes to survive. As soon as he finished speaking, he directly took out part of the source of the holy path from his body and blended it into the body of the star-swallowing ancestor worm, helping it to fully recover to its waist. Roar! The moment it merged into the origin of the holy path, the power of the star-eating ancestor insect doubled exponentially, and the wound just scratched by the sky-slaying sword healed instantly. In one roar, countless stars were shaken down. But the really scary thing is yet to come. The star-swallowing ancestor worm woke up, opened its big mouth of hundreds of star domains, and began to absorb everything. A cosmic storm appeared directly, like a whirlpool. Everything in the universe was taken into its body, including hundreds of star domains and immeasurable creatures, all of which were swallowed by it. Its strength is skyrocketing and it is still recovering. At this moment, the universe is in turmoil, reappearing the terrible disasters of ancient times. Lord of the Abyss, you deserve to die. The ancient chaos was finally pacified, but you actually took the initiative to resurrect this star-devouring ancestor insect with the origin of the Holy Way. Do you want the entire universe to die with you? An ordinary ancestor-level figure angrily said, when it comes to life and death, no matter how powerful the Lord of the Abyss is, he just wants to curse. There is no doubt that this has aroused the anger of hundreds of millions of creatures. You know, the star-swallowing ancestor just swallowed hundreds of star domains in one bite. Ancestor-level characters were all eaten up along with their own star domains. This star-devouring progenitor insect is billions of miles long, and everything in its path will be destroyed. It is simply a nightmare. Regarding these insults, the Lord of the Earth Abyss did not take it seriously and smiled coldly. At this time, he actually took the initiative to integrate into the star-eating ancestor insect, and was willing to become the blood food for the star-eating ancestor insect's resurrection. I want everything in the world to be buried with me. If you can't get it, bury it all, and everything will be in vain. The Lord of the Abyss was laughing wildly, but the next moment, his smile froze, and he was beheaded by Chi Dao with a knife. Wuxian is exterminated. What a vicious old guy. He actually revived and came out with something like this. Chi Dao killed the Lord of the Abyss, but he didn't feel at all relaxed. Because this star-devouring progenitor worm, which is billions of miles long and spans across the starry sky, is crawling and devouring endless creatures. After a while, its length has increased a lot. This is because it has swallowed thousands more pieces of star domain. This is not a pest, it is clearly a world-destroying insect. At this moment, an ancestor with a holy life level was wailing, and thousands of creatures were terrified. The star-eating ancestor. Are we really going to be wiped out this time? Not by dying under the oppression of the age of ending law, but by being buried in the belly of the star-eating ancestor insect. I'm not willing to give in. Let's stop it together. The saint-level ancestor shouted, who is willing to be eaten by the star-eating ancestor insect. However, their strength is not enough in front of the star-devouring ancestor insect. This world-destroying insect has completely revived. Without a supreme being at the level of half-immortality, who can stop it? What's more, 1 or 2 half-step immortals are simply not enough. It's over, the ancient disaster has reappeared, and now in this age of law ending, no one can stop this pest. It's all the fault of the Lord of the Abyss. He deserves to die, tens of millions of times. I will use his holy blood as an eternal lamp to light up the ages. There are ancestor-level figures screaming, the pain is extremely extreme, no one can really stop the progress of this ancestor insect. At the critical moment, Chi Dao takes action. The 5 major life palaces in his body seemed to be sublimating to the extreme, and the origin of Taoism became brighter and brighter. Centered around the location of Chi Dao, an ancestor-level figure was soon shocked to feel a vast wave of fluctuation sweeping over. Vaguely, they heard the voice of the great Tao. Boom! All the gods in the 5 fate palaces appeared, standing beside Chi Dao, walking in the world side by side with his true form. At this moment, the supreme scripture sounds came from the 5 gods. Chi Dao is going to take action against the star-swallowing ancestor. But he is only one person, how can he do it? Although he can kill half-step immortal figures in a row, he is the fully resurrected star-swallowing ancestral insect, the source of ancient troubles. There are ancestor-level figures looking nervously and expectantly at the figure that reaches the sky and the earth in the starry sky. It is really like a warrior immortal coming to the world. Every move is filled with horror. At the end, the 5 gods reunited with the figure of Chi Dao and returned to the Palace of Life, giving birth to a vision of opening heaven in the depths of the universe. Supreme immortal transformation, all laws become void. Chi Dao took action, and the supreme pressure shook the universe, and the old rules and order continued to collapse. At the moment when the Tao method broke out, the star-devouring progenitor insect in action suddenly stopped, as if it felt a terrible threat, and tried desperately to escape from here. However, this is the supreme law of immortal transformation, and it has already been locked by it. Just as it was about to escape, its huge body began to turn into little bits of light rain and dissipate. This was transforming into a Tao. Roar! The star-swallowing ancestral insect screamed. This power was so terrifying that it passively transformed into a Tao and returned it to the sky. Soon, Mo-Fa Great Tao felt the power of the star-swallowing ancestor insect to transform into a path. There was no need for Chi Dao to use his backhand. This star-swallowing ancestor insect had already been targeted by the terrible rules of heaven and earth. In this age of Dharma ending, how could the great Tao of heaven and earth allow such creatures to exist in the world? Kang! Deep in the universe, a huge great Tao guillotine fell, directly cutting off the billions of miles-long star-eating ancestor insect. In just half an hour, this star-devouring ancestor insect completely transformed into a Taoist form. The ancient evil is completely eradicated. With one person's power, we got rid of the ancient culprit. In ancient times, 7 or 8 half-step immortal supreme-level figures worked together to suppress the star-swallowing ancestral insect. He did it alone, unparalleled in the world. If you think about it, he has also killed 7 supreme beings at the half-step immortal level, and he still has some strength left, so it's not surprising. But this is too exaggerated. In the sea of stars, those ancestor-level figures have just come to their senses, feeling that everything is extremely false, without any sense of reality. But everyone knows that the scene just happened did happen. That majestic figure used immortal transformation in one fell swoop to kill the star-eating ancestor and saved countless star domains. Otherwise, in this Dharma-ending era, who can stop that star-eating ancestor insect? Everyone will die. When these ancestor-level figures looked at Xinghai again, they found that Qi Dao was on the move again, holding the sky-slaying sword, and his momentum remained unabated. Wait, where is he going? The 4 ancestors including the Lord of the Earth Abyss are all dead, as well as the previous ancestors Mo Chong, Tu Tian, and Chu Long. A total of 7 supreme ancestors who are level 15 have been killed by him. He is truly invincible in the world. Everything has really been overturned. I don't know how many ethnic groups will be destroyed as a result, but there will also be ethnic groups who will benefit from it and rise again. All of this was done by one person. Could it be said that our Taoism system has really declined and is no match for the new system? There are only 1 or 2 people who have created a new system throughout the ages. Which one is not amazing and brilliant, shocking the past and the present? The rise of a new system requires stepping on the bones of the supreme being of the old way to prove the power and terror of the new system. Qi Dao has done it, and no one in the old way can stop him. In this age of Dharma ending, we are simply fulfilling him. This is the general trend of the world. An ancestor-level figure said in shock. Realizing this, his heart suddenly felt empty. Because this means that they are all the past of the old era and have begun to become the past. From the moment Qi Dao killed the 7 half-step immortals, the new system has truly begun to take hold and is unstoppable. And just when all the ancestors were sighing in their hearts, news suddenly came that Wu Zontian, the leader of the Wu clan, was not dead and had hid in the forbidden land of the gods. And now, Qi Dao is rushing to the forbidden land with the sky-slaying sword in hand. I go. Are you really going crazy? Are you even leaving restricted areas? Which restricted area has not stood for hundreds of millions of years, and it has often existed for more than one era. The supreme beings in those restricted areas are so high above the world that they don't even bother to participate in anything. They are even more terrifying. There are even rumors about the gods' forbidden land that an immortal once fell there, creating such a forbidden area. Is he really not afraid if he goes like this? No, Qi Dao is most likely looking for someone, not starting a war. After all, the restricted area has no grudges against him, and no terrorist entity has ever appeared to participate in the war. Then this is terrifying enough. Even if Wu Zontian is not dead, who would dare to go to the restricted area to find someone? If one of them is not done well, there may be a fight. The question is, as the founder of a new system, can the presence in the penalty area defeat him? The ancestors were all silent. They have all watched the battle through hundreds of Star Domain films and experienced the terrifying methods. Not to mention, the death of the star-swallowing ancestor was still vivid in his mind. Qi Dao went to the restricted area to look for someone. The existence in the restricted area may not dare to be tough. Quick, go and take a look, don't miss this kind of rare event. No one has dared to go to the restricted area for many years, this must not be missed. By the way, didn't that ancient lunatic go to the restricted area? There's no movement now, I'm afraid he's dead. The ancestors all set off, following Qi Dao from a distance, but now they couldn't hold back their inner impulses. At the same time, Qi Dao, who was on his way, also sensed a group of ancestors following him, but he ignored them. Along the way, he adjusted his condition and took dragon marrow to supplement his own flesh and blood consumption. After a moment, a brand new star domain appeared in front of us. It was lifeless, and there weren't even many stars. In the center of the star domain, there is a continent running across it. The moment he saw this continent, Qi Dao's eyes glowed with 2 rays of light. It's a pity that even with his divine ability, he can't see through this continent. There is a fog of law on it that blocks the prying eyes of the outside world. Master, this is it, known as the Forbidden Land of Gods. The old guy from the Wu clan just escaped inside. The heaven-slaying sword said to Qi Dao. Qi Dao nodded expressionlessly. He could already feel the terrifying aura emanating from this forbidden land. There were terrifying figures lurking there. He even sensed a hint of immortality, which was very real. The Forbidden Land. Qi Dao took a deep breath and descended to the sky above the Forbidden Land with the sky-slaying sword. From this point of view, the entire divine forbidden land is filled with mountains, but some places are truly terrifying to the extreme. For example, there is a pool of mud with a corpse in it. The corpse was a holy level being during his lifetime. There is also a blood lake, which is made up of the blood of the holy life level. It is still flowing and emitting heat, and there are bones of the holy life level sinking and floating in it. This is the horror of the restricted area, otherwise why is it a restricted area? Not to mention that this can only be seen with the naked eye. In the depths of the forbidden land, there are probably many places like this. The old guy is indeed not dead, I sensed his breath. Strange, isn't it said that the restricted area is beyond objects, and anyone who enters from the outside will die? Isn't it that Wu Zontian is still related to this forbidden land? Qi Dao pondered in his mind. Otherwise, why would Wu Zontian insist on becoming a minister in this forbidden land? Let's go in and take a look. Qi Dao no longer thought about it and stepped into the forbidden land. The moment he stepped into the mainland, thousands of murderous laws were directly triggered, and Qi Dao was surrounded by murderous aura. Each of these laws can kill a holy life level existence. However, all of this was blocked by the heaven-slaying sword, and it was invincible to any attack. At the same time, a ferocious beast also woke up. It looked like a tiger with two horns on its head. It was almost reaching the half-step immortal level. Who dares to break into my forbidden place and disturb the master's sleep? It was killed by Qi Dao, but before it had the chance to be powerful, it was caught by one of Qi Dao's hands. The ferocious tiger just now gradually turned into a well-behaved kitten under Qi Dao's suppression. Ouch! Meow! The evil tiger roars, but its milky voice is milky. It immediately realized something was wrong and quickly covered its mouth. Then, it was extremely frightened. What kind of person was this? He transformed himself into this look with one hand. He was no weaker than the owner of the restricted area. I'm looking for someone, I don't want to disturb you. Qi Dao said with a slight smile, and subconsciously pinched the fluffy cheek of the little cat, making it tremble in fear and dare not move. Qi Dao grabbed the ferocious tiger that was only one step away from entering the half-step immortal level, with a calm expression on his face, and entered the forbidden land of the gods. No one expected that even the goalkeepers in the penalty area were monsters of this level of strength, and if they were released, they would be enough to cause a bloody storm in the universe. Moreover, how terrifyingly powerful is the owner of this restricted area? Many ancestors who followed looked at it from a distance, guessing in their minds, and their scalps were numb. Only Qi Dao can walk into it at will, while other people at the same level would have to put in a lot of effort. Buzz! Before Qi Dao took a few steps, the entire divine forbidden land suddenly shook, and the immortal aura erupted from the depths of the divine forbidden land, making people's scalp numb. At this moment, the star domain where the forbidden land is located is filled with great pressure. The ancestors who followed were frightened to death and left the place quickly. Because they feel like someone is holding their throat, it is a terrible feeling of suffocation. Oh my God, it's the Lord of the Forbidden Zone who has revived. For endless years, the terrifying figure sleeping in the restricted area has been awakened. Go quickly, we can't stay in this star domain for long. If a person like that really takes action, all bystanders will die. These ancestors were all frightened and left in a hurry. At this moment, Qi Dao was walking in the forbidden land as if nothing had happened, with a faint fluorescent light emitting from his body, blocking out everything. It has the aura of immortality, and it's very strong, but it doesn't really reach that level of superiority. Qi Dao suddenly made a decision in his heart, knowing that the terrifying existence deep in the forbidden area was not immortal, but only a half-step immortal level. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to cope with it easily. Owner, my master has revived. In the hands of Qi Dao, the suppressed fierce tiger cried out in a milky voice, wishing that Jin Jiong could quickly suppress Qi Dao. However, just as it was about to speak, it discovered that Qi Dao was very calm, and that supreme, immortal power was useless to him. Fellow Taoist, what happened? I have been sleeping here for 3 epochs, far away from the human world, without any cause and effect. I don't know what you are doing. The owner of the forbidden land revived and spoke. At this moment, 2 huge lanterns seemed to rise in the starry sky, bigger and brighter than the stars, staring coldly at Qi Dao. If an ordinary holy life existed here, he would have died under the look of such a pair of eyes. Find a person who has a cause and effect with me, and he escaped into your restricted area. As soon as I find him, I will leave immediately. Qi Dao spoke calmly. He didn't want to make enemies everywhere. As long as the owner of the restricted area didn't deliberately target him, he would naturally not bother to collide with the opponent. After all, this restricted area is very mysterious. The water in it is too deep. I don't know who the people are. How ancient a person must he be to fall asleep easily for 2 or 3 epochs? I'm afraid there is no such record in ancient history. I don't have the person you're looking for here. The lord of the restricted area only said this. Afterwards, the entire sacred forbidden land glowed, and even Qi Dao could not gain a foothold, as there was a terrible force repelling him. Finally, Qi Dao appeared outside the forbidden land holding the heaven-slaying sword, looking down. I chased him into your restricted area, but you blocked my murderous intention. You still said it wasn't you. The heaven-slaying sword in Qi Dao's hand vibrated and made a sound. With Qi Dao here, it has nothing to fear. Fellow Taoist, this cause and effect is very important to me, and I must end it. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind seeing fellow Taoists retreat. Qi Dao spoke again, with a hint of threat. At this level, nothing can be hidden from him. This time, there was a sensation in the forbidden land. There was an evil spirit erupting from deep, like an emotional explosion in a person's heart. Eventually, the area calmed down. The owner of the restricted area knew that Qi Dao would not give up. If he did not give an explanation, he might really break into the restricted area. Although he is in deep sleep, he still has a general understanding of the outside world. He knows that Qi Dao is the founder of a new system and has no rivals in the same realm. In today's Dharma-ending era, he doesn't want to have any entanglements. How about this? Wu Zontian once entered the place where I was sleeping by chance and was blessed. He is my disciple and I have a cause and effect. Why don't I give fellow Taoists some compensation? Let this matter go, and we will have a good relationship, so don't argue with the juniors. The owner of the restricted area weighed and thought over and over again and came up with such a solution. He knew that he could no longer hide it. However, Qi Dao's attitude was too firm and he insisted on killing Wu Zontian. There is no reason to let go of the hatred of life and death. I said when I reflected on the universe, those who fight against me will be judged as to whether they are superior or inferior, as well as life and death. With the oath of cause and effect, no one can escape. He will definitely die today, you can't save him. Qi Dao put his hands behind his back and his gaze was so intense that everyone in the penalty area had to lower their heads. After all, Qi Dao is truly invincible, and almost all his opponents at the same level will be killed by him, unless the sleeping being in the restricted area appears. Otherwise, Dao is already invincible in this world. Good. After a brief hesitation, the owner of the restricted area agreed, not wanting to cause any trouble to his sleeping place. The next moment, Wu Zontian appeared, but with a frightened expression, he knelt on the ground and kept pleading to the sleeping lord of the Forbidden Zone. Master, please remember that I have a master-disciple relationship with you, and don't treat me as a school doctor. I'm really going to die. Wu Zontian was extremely frightened, but the owner of the restricted area was determined to hand him over. Now, the person who enters and exits is not an ordinary half-step immortal figure, but the founder of a new system, and the old way is unmatched. As a person who has already been defeated, there is no reason for the owner of the restricted area to protect him. In ancient times, the relationship between master and disciple between you and me has been exhausted. Letting you hide in now is the end of my kindness. Since you, Li Hao, are involved in the oath of cause and effect, I can't protect you. From now on, I am no longer your master, and you are no longer my disciple. The owner of the restricted area opened his mouth and decisively sent Wu Zontian out, the hot potato. No. Feeling the terrifying pressure of Qi Dao, Wu Zontian trembled, turned into a ray of divine light and escaped directly into the depths of the universe. However, Qi Dao had already set his sights on him. The supreme Taoism of the 5 fate palaces blocked the world, and the heaven-slaying sword showed its peerless sharpness and slashed out in an instant. Puff! Wu Zontian was beheaded directly, the holy blood was sprinkled across the universe, and the origin of the holy way quickly transformed into a way. The last supreme ancestor of the half-step immortal level also died, and was forcefully killed by Qi Dao. Thank you fellow Taoist for this. After Qi Dao killed Wu Zontian, he would naturally not cause trouble in the Forbidden Land, and left with the heaven-slaying sword. The owner of the Forbidden Land watched Qi Dao leave with a pair of deep eyes, and finally fell silent. After successfully dealing with the last supreme being at the half-step immortal level, Qi Dao came out of the star domain where the Forbidden Land is located in one step. Suddenly, the ancestors who paid attention to this place were shocked. They had glimpsed what was happening in the star domain through their eyes, and knew that the owners of the forbidden area bowed their heads and did not want to fight with Qi Dao. This news has spread, and all creatures in the entire universe are shocked. The creatures in the restricted area are so high above others, who can go to raise an army to hold them accountable. Since ancient times, whoever goes to the restricted area has not suffered death. Nowadays, there are people who can go to force the owner of the restricted area to compromise and take the initiative to surrender. Even the master of the restricted area bowed his head, acknowledging that he was no match for Qi Dao and did not dare to plan his new system. Now, he truly rules the world. In the big universe, those ancestors were horrified, watching Qi Dao leave across hundreds of star domains in one step, and ignored them. However, ethnic groups related to the Wu tribe suffered. Especially Wu Zontian's direct descendants, tens of billions of creatures on the entire ancestral planet were trembling with fear that day. Because a terrifying figure descended from the sky, it was Qi Dao who came with the sky-slaying sword in hand, wanting to settle everything. Master can't bear to do anything, I'll just cut the grass and root out the roots. Seeing Qi Dao's hesitation, the heaven-slaying sword thought he didn't want to take action. What he didn't know was that when Qi Dao looked up at the sky, he could hear the faint sound of thunder tribulation, as if something was staring at him. This feeling becomes stronger as time goes by, and Mr. Dao feels that there is still one last opponent in this world. Moreover, it is very likely to be more terrifying than the supreme ancestors he killed before. I have a feeling that the old Dao body system will end completely this time. Soon, someone from the old path will come to us to represent the last battle of the old path. After this battle, the old way has truly turned into the past, and the world has become corrupted, overthrowing everything. Qi Dao said slowly. He has the time scripture and can use the power of time to deduce the future in a short period of time. Naturally, he has learned some things, which is inevitable. After finishing his words, Qi Dao raised his hand and used divine ability to cover the entire star domain of the Wu clan. With one touch, the creatures of the Wu clan and the star domain are wiped out, and no one can escape. This, Master, who in the world can be your opponent? Not even the people in the restricted area dare to attack you. The heaven-slaying sword asked in surprise, wondering why Qi Dao said this. Qi Dao shook his head, his intuition was very accurate. They are not enemies BFDF in the restricted area, they are very mysterious, but if they want to attack me, they will do it long ago and will not lie dormant. It is the old way that wants to have a final settlement with me. The war not long ago was just a preview and represents the past of the old way. If nothing else happens, the next step will be the peak of the old path. Qi Dao said calmly, unwilling to say anything more. And just when he was destroying the Martial Clan star domain and preparing to go to other star domains, there was an ancestor-level wail, and a peerless fierce light erupted, as if it pierced the sky. Oh my God, that madman from ancient times is here and wants to fight Qi Dao. Why do we have to target him too? An ancestor was on the run in the sea of stars, but he couldn't escape at all. His body was blown apart by an extremely rough primitive man with disheveled hair. This ancient madman is holding a rusty iron rod. He is extremely powerful and exudes fighting spirit. Everything he passes by will be smashed by his rod, making him unstoppable. And beside him, there are various visions from ancient and modern times, and the rules of the Great Tao are constantly being introduced into his body. This is a supreme being at the level of half-step immortality. From the beginning to the end, this madman was waving the iron rod in his hand without saying a word, until his eyes met Qi Dao, and the natives looked at each other across dozens of seas of stars. Boom! The star domain in between evaporated directly, the terrifying fluctuations spread out, and the ancestors changed their colors. You know, this is just the movement caused by the two people looking at each other. Ha ha ha! Finally I found you, the founder of the new system. I have already reached the extreme state. I have been invincible for many years. There is no longer any opponent for me in the world. Even the people in the penalty area are afraid and don't dare to fight me. I am convinced that I have found the most powerful enemy. Just let me see how strong the new system you created is, and it is confirmed with my law manifestation. In this life, I will transcend the Supreme Being and achieve immortality in the apocalypse of Dharma. The ancient madman laughs. He is not crazy at all at this moment. On the contrary, there is a terrifying Tao rhyme, transcendent above. He is extremely confident and has indeed reached the pinnacle of the old Tao body system. This is the source of his confidence. This is also the only person who has cultivated the old Tao body system to the extreme and is flawless. He is extremely powerful, and the feeling he gives Qi Dao is completely different from other ancestors at the half-step immortal level. Qi Dao felt relieved immediately, and finally knew where that feeling came from. It was this ancient madman. He represents the pinnacle of the old Tao body system and is simply born for the old way. As for what he said, Qi Dao didn't think it was exaggerated at all. If he is defeated in this battle, this ancient madman will be able to truly transcend and achieve immortality in this age of Dharma end. This is an extremely terrifying enemy, making Qi Dao show a dignified and serious look for the first time. Do you dare to fight me? The ancient madman spoke, and with his words, countless stars fell down, and even those ancestors could not stand still, showing a look of horror. Fightable, Qi Dao responded. His Taoist heart is stable and he is not afraid of anything. He had a hunch that if he defeated this ancient lunatic, the old ways would become a thing of the past. And this Dharma-ending era will also become the lowest where the old Tao body system is buried, and will disappear in the long river of time. This battle is inevitable. Rumble. As soon as these words were spoken, thunder rolled in the depths of the sky of the universe, and the aura of the great Tao was extremely strong. Even the whole world seemed to be shaking due to the confrontation between the two. At this moment, even the owners of the forbidden areas were alarmed. They opened their eyes and looked at this place. There were 9 terrifying figures in total. Oh my God! An ancient lunatic who was born only for Tao. He has cultivated the Tao system to the extreme in his early years. In ancient times, he went crazy. Although he had unparalleled cultivation, he looked for opponents everywhere. Every time he loses a battle, he cuts off his cultivation and practices again. Each of his realms represents the limit of our Taoism system. If it weren't for madness, he would have already become the co-lord of the world and will dominate for eternity. An ancestor who survived from ancient times, with a trembling voice, told the origin of this ancient lunatic. Someone had witnessed Relu's practice. This is an extremely courageous person, who is equally impressive in the past and today, and is comparable to the founder of the old system. However, later on, he disappeared for a long time due to madness, which made many people feel sorry for him until now. Now standing in front of Qi Dao, this ancient madman is not crazy at all. His eyes are clear and full of excitement and strong fighting spirit. Everyone in the world thinks I'm crazy, but they're just vulgar people. If I am invincible in this world, what will happen if I am sober? The ancient madman's name was Zhang Immortal, a name he chose himself. Who in the world dares to add the word, immortal, to his name? I'm afraid it's only this ancient madman, which represents his desire to become enlightened. After all, the immortal gate completely disappeared long before the age of ending law, or even several epochs ago. No one in the world can truly be immortal and live forever. Zhang Wuxi's desire to achieve immortality in the human world has been his obsession since he embarked on the path of cultivation. Just like this, he pursued the ultimate realm all the way, killing himself every time he failed, and making up for his own shortcomings and deficiencies by practicing again. The ancestors who have survived from ancient times all know that this person has committed suicide no less than 5 times at the level of the holy life, and each time he committed suicide and started practicing again without any hesitation. The moment he achieved half-step immortality in ancient times, it meant that he was invincible in the world, because every state was flawless, without any flaws. Qi Dao learned all this from the ancestors who had survived from ancient times. He knew that this person had a tough character, a Taoist heart as solid as a rock, and he was even more heroic. It seems that everything is already doomed. Qi Dao suddenly felt that this battle seemed to be prepared for them. Either subvert the old way, or sublime within the old way and become immortal in the world. The next moment, Qi Dao raised his head again, his eyes blazing like two divine suns descending into the universe, causing those ancestors to retreat and stay away from hundreds of star domains. This is destined to be the pinnacle battle between the old and new systems, transcending past and present. Whoever wins will be recorded in ancient history and shock the past and the present. Ha 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 ha. Bring it on. Zhang Babu holds a rusty iron rod, breathing in Spanish. And in his hands, the rusty iron rod also began to undergo violent transformation, constantly boiling with magic. In the end, the iron rod was completely revived, almost as good as an immortal weapon, and on the same level as the sky-slaying sword in Qi Dao's hand. Even just a wisp of breath emanating from the iron rod weighs hundreds of millions of kilograms, crushing a star domain. That's the heavenly tribulation stick that has disappeared long ago. Born in the chaos of innate, bathed in catastrophes and immortal, a doctor and the peerless minister of the great Tao. It turns out that it is in Zhang Wuwu's hands. An ancestor recognized it and immediately exclaimed, causing a sensation. At the same time, the heaven-slaying sword in Qi Dao's hand also burst out with rolling murderous intent. It was as vast as a sea of smoke, and a ray of edge could cut down billions of suns, moons and stars. This is also the battle for the most powerful treasure. Boom. Qi Dao's aura is rising steadily, and the 5 life palaces are like 5 immortal palaces. It is almost as if they are really coming out of his body, with a strong Taoist origin. In just a moment, Qi Dao seemed to be wearing immortal armor, as if a banished immortal had come to the world, absolutely terrifying. As he moved his hands and feet, billions of stars were as small as gravel, and the entire universe was nothing more than a fish pond. At this moment, Zhang Immortal also sublimated. The worn-out animal skin on his body revived again, and then turned into black unicorn armor. Each piece was actually a genuine dragon scale. The two approached each other, testing each other first. But even so, countless star domains are collapsing and turning into extinct domains, and the void of the universe is constantly collapsing and annihilating. Go to the edge of the universe and fight. After Qi Dao said that, he tore through the void and disappeared, letting those ancestors breathe a sigh of relief. Otherwise, just the terrifying battle between Qi Dao and Zhang Wuwu can overthrow the entire universe. No living thing that can resist will die. Zhang Wuchu also said nothing and tore through the void to chase after him. The universe is at the edge of the wilderness. It is lifeless, there are few stars, and it is filled with the aura of chaos. It is said that breaking through the chaos zone can lead to another large universe, that is the boundary wall. But no one has ever achieved the level of opening heaven. Boom. Qi Dao arrived with Zhang Wuxi and took action immediately. Under the simple collision between the heavenly tribulation stick and the heaven-slaying sword, sparks of Taoism bloomed fiercely, like a brilliant fireworks bursting out in the universe. Rumble. In an instant, the void at the edge of the universe was shattered like a mirror, unable to survive under these two powerful forces. Even the surrounding chaos exploded. After a brief exchange of blows, both Qi Dao and Zhang Wuxi retreated, keeping a safe distance between their two heaven-reaching bodies. It feels so powerful. I haven't experienced such a powerful battle in a long time. You are definitely the strongest opponent in my life. Zhang Wuwu laughed loudly and unleashed his fighting spirit wantonly, causing the great Tao here to roar continuously and then explode. If it were in the center of the universe, then countless star domains would be shattered. Yeah, I can only say that you are indeed a very strong opponent. You have cultivated the old Tao body system to its peak. You are the only person in the world that I can face squarely. Qi Dao is holding the heaven-slaying sword, and his aura is still rising. Zhang Buxi indeed represents the pinnacle of the old Tao body system, but he is not the pioneer. Only the founder of the system can clearly understand that the most original power behind a great realm can never be mastered or surpassed by latecomers. As the founder of a new system, Qi Dao is confident that he can defeat his opponents, it just takes a little more effort. Okay, then let me see what's so special about the founder of a system. Zhang Wuwu's fighting spirit was overwhelming, and at this moment he really took action with all his strength. Boom! The heavenly tribulation stick in his hand erupted, and the terrifying power of the Great Tao tribulation was born on it. Great Tao rules kept coming to suppress Qi Dao. Now that the Taoism system has reached the extreme state, Zhang Buxi no longer has any means of scriptures and laws, and every blow represents the strongest power of Taoism. In other words, at this point, he can give birth to a new method in a single thought, so that he can counter all methods. Cut. Qi Dao's face was expressionless. Under the blessing of the 5 life palaces, the heaven-slaying sword was extraordinarily dazzling, as if it was becoming an immortal weapon. Kang. A shocking sword burst out, as if cutting off the old path, splitting apart a period of time, and producing an extremely terrifying phenomenon. Between the collision of sticks and knives, the starry sky between Qi Dao and Zhang Wuwu was directly annihilated, turning into eternal nothingness, with no day left. At this moment, the Taoist origins of the old and new systems are also colliding, constantly confronting each other, and refusing to give in to each other. Rumble. The thunder from the sky is rolling against the supreme killing intent, causing the chaotic energy at the edge of the universe to explode continuously. In an instant, the two of them fought for more than 1,000 rounds. It was incredibly fast, and the speed surpassed time. When the ancestors saw it in the distance, they quickly covered their eyes and did not dare to stare for a long time. In addition to these ancestor-level figures paying attention to this battle, even the terrifying existences in the 9 restricted areas are also watching everything here, and there is also a strange light blooming in several pairs of eyes. Everyone, in your opinion, who among them can win? The owner of the restricted area spoke. It seemed to be a woman, wearing a mysterious veil and aloof. It was she who was asking. The impact of this battle is too great. It is the strongest battle between the old and new systems. One has reached the extreme of the old Tao body system, and the other is the founder of the new system, which shocked the past and the present, and amazed the times. No matter who survives, it will definitely have a huge impact on future generations. In the distance, a being bathed in the mysterious glow spoke, the voice of an old man. I hope Zhang Wuxi wins. After all, the old Tao body system is still an area we are familiar with and can be controlled in our hands without destroying our long-term preparations. He said. The other master of the restricted area sneered twice and disagreed. Even if the one named Qi Dao wins, so what about? After all, he has not transcended to the level of immortality. Even if he creates a new system, it is useless. He can be suppressed. Everything in the world is still under our control. Times change, eternity changes, what kind of genius you and I have never seen, cannot be immortal, in the end it is just a cup of Lois, only you and I are eternal. Even if this era of law ending is against us, we can get through it. I always feel that if the new system wins, it will be the biggest change in ancient and modern times. Another restricted area lord spoke calmly. Eventually, they calmed down and said nothing. But at this moment, Qi Dao and Zhang Wuxi were fighting to the edge of the universe and it was shattered. Everything was reincarnated between nothingness and existence, broken and reappeared. That deserted area on the edge of the universe has been broken countless times. In the end, the great Tao rules in that area no longer existed, and it became a truly terrifying extremity where no one could exist. Myriad manifestations, thundering through the 9 heavens. Kill. Zhang Wushou used real fire, his body was covered with scars and holy blood, and the battle was extremely tragic. At this moment, he exerted his great divine ability, created Taoism in a single thought, and actually used the heavenly tribulation stick to induce the great Tao tribulation. Rumble. Terrible thunder and lightning raged here, and with the emergence of a cosmic storm, a thunder dragon suddenly appeared, swallowing the sky and the earth, bombing the entire chaotic zone. Qi Dao just encountered a little thunder and lightning, and a blood hole exploded in his body, which is enough to show the horror of this method. This is the pure power of heavenly calamity. Of course, Qi Dao also has terrible methods and is not afraid of the opponent. The palaces of life all come out to suppress everything in the world. Advent. Qi Dao also fought to the point of madness. At this moment, the 5 life palaces in his body turned into immortal palaces and broke the shackles together, descending into the world. In an instant, the great Tao disaster rolled in from the depths of the universe, and the terrifying power of rules fell one after another. However, the 5 life palaces are holding on to the calamity of the great Tao, and the Taoist origin of the new system is fighting against the calamity at this moment, without fear of the will of the great Tao. Boom! The universe was shattered, and thousands of star domains exploded at this moment, shattering into pieces. At this moment, the power of the rules of the old Tao body system was wiped out, and the 5 immortal palaces suppressed the current world, forcibly blocking the suppression of the end of the law. Of course, the most important thing is that it has blocked the power of the rules of the old way and can no longer provide Zhang Immortal with powerful power. In turn, Qi Dao has received a steady stream of supplements, as if a world has been reopened and everything is immortal. Seeing this scene, even the 9 lords of the restricted area had strange expressions on their faces and were ready to make a move. This is the origin of the new system. If it can be obtained, you and I can transcend it. The owner of the restricted area was moved, but was quickly blocked and given a warning. Don't forget our preparations. The hard work of many epochs cannot be wasted because of this. So what if that is the origin of the new system? Don't lose the big for the small. That's right, just wait and see what happens. In the end, the owner of the penalty area who was about to take action calmed down and did not want to lose the big for a small gain. At the same time, the 5 major immortal palaces suppressed together and completely sealed off the world. The Taoism of the new system became extremely prosperous and targeted Zhang Immortal everywhere. Boom! After a huge collision, Qi Dao chopped off one of Zhang Wuwu's arms with one knife. On the spot, holy blood with terrifying fighting intent spilled into the starry sky. Of course, Qi Dao also felt uncomfortable. A huge bloody hole was left on his shoulder, and it was penetrated directly from front to back. But compared to the huge price Zhang Wuxi paid, this was not a pain. 5 great scriptures, suppress everything. The past is empty. Qi Dao roared, and the law manifestation opened up everything, as if it were opening heaven. At this moment, the rich source of Taoism burst out from the 5 immortal palaces. At this moment, the 5 gods all walked out. Their treasures were solemn, and each used their supreme scriptures to suppress Zhang Immortal. Happy, Zhang Immortal was laughing, extremely crazy, and the fighting spirit in his body became more and more intense. After all, he is a person who has cultivated the old Tao body system to the extreme. He has various divine abilities and blocked the 5 major gods and the killer of Qi Dao at this moment. Boom! Coupled with Qi Dao's true form, 6 identical versions of him fought with Zhang Wuwu. All Taoist laws were in vain, the entire universe became crumbling, and many ancestors felt that the end was coming. In the end, all Taoist methods were trampled under the feet of the 2, and they were all collisions of the most original means. Puff! In the end, Zhang Buxi couldn't hold on anymore, because Qi Dao isolated everything with the 5 life palaces, which was equivalent to reshaping a world, so that Zhang Buxi could no longer rely on the power of Taoism in the world. Different from him, after Zhang Wuxi lost the support of the Taoism of the world, the power in his body would always be exhausted. In the end, he could not even use the divine ability. Only the physical body is still righting the war. You lost. Qi Dao was aloof, looking down at everything indifferently. Above his head, the 5 major destiny palaces are holding up the terrifying thunder tribulation of the world, which is invincible. At the same time, there are also Taoist methods in the 5 life palaces to suppress Zhang Wuxi, making him bleed everywhere. At this point, Zhang Wuxi was covered in blood and finally couldn't hold on any longer. Ha ha ha, I was defeated, but I have no regrets. I lost to the founder of the new system, but I am invincible in the old way. Come again. Zhang Wuxi was still laughing at this moment, and then took action without hesitation. He has sought defeat all his life, and now this will be his last defeat. Richung is drunk. I'll help you. Qi Dao took action with all his strength, the 5 fate palaces froze time, and the universe exploded again. Poof! Lotus flowers exploded one after another, and half of Zhang Wuwu's body disappeared. His heavenly tribulation stick tried to block the next attack for him, but it was cracked by the heaven-slaying sword. It was also defeated by the heaven-slaying sword at the level of treasure. In the end, Qi Dao and the 5 major life palaces fell together, burying Zhang Wuwu. Zhang Wuwu, who had cultivated the old Tao body system to the extreme, died in battle. The terrible Great Tao catastrophe suddenly broke out in the universe, and at the same time, the vision of crying from the sky appeared. What is even more creepy is that in the big universe, some ancestors discovered that every star domain has blood lotuses blooming, and blurred faces appear with blood and tears. Oh my God, has such a thing ever happened to the death of a being at the holy life level in the past? This is definitely not an ordinary vision of crying from the sky. Could it be said that this is because the defeat of those in the extreme realm of the old way has caused the old way to become a thing of the past, causing the great Tao of heaven and earth to mourn and mourn for it? After all, that ancient madman represents the extreme state of the old Tao body system, which is rare to see in all eternity. The battle just now means that the new system is completely invincible and no one can shake it. In the universe, the expressions of those ancestor-level figures changed drastically as they talked about this matter. Even the master of the 9 restricted areas changed his face slightly at this time. It was the first time he saw such a vision. How could he say goodbye to a holy being? It was clearly because he was grieving for the defeat of the old way. The heavens and the earth screamed, and the 15 great Tao shed tears of blood. This is the true overthrow of the old ways. The founder of the new system shocked the past and the present, and has completely risen. This is the general trend of the world, and no one can interfere with it anymore. Not long after, the old way will be completely overturned. As the oppression of the Dharma ending age deepens, it will turn into the dust of history, and everything will no longer exist. The masters of the restricted area were horrified and their voices trembled. Then, they looked at Qi Dao, who was sitting motionless at the edge of the universe, and found that he was very calm, as if he had understood something. Why, I feel like he is transforming. Look, the 5 immortal palaces in his body seem to be gradually merging. He defeated the person who best represented the old Tao body system. Does this mean he is also transcending everything? The owner of the restricted area wearing a veil wondered, his vision was blurry and he was not sure. In fact, the other owners of the forbidden area are also hesitating because they can't see clearly and don't know what is going on. It's like fusion, it seems like it's really going to reach a higher level. But this is the age of Dharma ending. Who can break the shackles of the great Tao of heaven and earth? That's what he said, but don't forget that he created a new system, which was originally going against the era of the end of law. Now it is really possible to reach a higher level. What, do you want to take action? Hold on. The Lord of the 9 forbidden zones paid close attention to Qi Dao's movements, uncertain. Because they are only half a step into the immortal level and have not reached the same level as Zhang Immortal. They just have different treasures. They have been brewing for a long time and preparing something, and they don't want to make a move easily and get angry. After all, Qi Dao's terrifying combat power is obvious to all. At this time, what no one knew was that the moment Qi Dao finally killed Zhang Immortal, he captured the most crucial inspiration in his heart. Now, he has been immersed in the simulation of being a minister in the end of the Dharma era. Prior to this, Qi Dao had made preparations to protect himself with the 5 gods. Any changes outside would alarm him and allow him to wake up from the simulation. Soon, Qi Dao's 5 life palaces dimmed, and he sat cross-legged on the edge of the universe, as if he was healing his wounds and fell into a deep retreat. It seems to be an illusion. It is impossible for him to transcend, and no one can transcend in the era when the immortal gate disappears. If there is, it must be us. The owner of the restricted area felt calm after seeing this scene. Nice. Let's go, count the time, we should start taking action. The 9 peerless and terrifying figures gradually disappeared into the sea of stars in the universe. In the first year, after killing Zhang Wuwu, you captured the transcendent inspiration and opened up the 8th block in the outer wasteland of the universe. In the 100th year, your 5 life palaces began to merge, Taoism unified harmony. In the 500 years, your spiritual platform will also join the fusion and devote yourself wholeheartedly. Quote. In the first 1,000 years, the previous 7 realms resonate. Your whole body is seeking sublimation and transformation. You feel that you have easily touched that layer of separation. In the third 1,000 years, the integration of your 5 major palaces of life has reached half of the progress. The 5 gods have unified harmony, exuding terrifying immortal power. In the 5th 1,000 years, your 5 major life palaces have been completely integrated, Taoism unified harmony, but you know this is not enough. In the 5,001st year, after your Tao and Dharma were unified, the power of the anomaly appeared again, but this time it could not stop you. At the same time, you also understood clearly that this was the barrier of the old Tao and represented the demonic obstacle of the old Tao. In the first 10,000 years, you manifested yourself in the 5 life palaces like you destroyed Zhang Immortal, and wiped out the anomaly's power. You succeeded. In the 12,000th year, you have a mortal transformation. The Tao Dharma and the physical body are unified harmony, regardless of each other. You have successfully transcended. However, at the same time, the old Tao body system of the world has been completely overturned the moment you have successfully transcended. The Dharma era come. The eighth great realm opened up is named by you as transcendence, in contrast to immortality. This simulation is successful, and the heavenly materials and earthly treasures consumed by the simulation will be distributed in the form of rewards. Summary of this simulation. Immortal transformation, you have succeeded in transcending the human world. Evaluation. The number 1 immortal in the apocalypse. Boom. The moment the simulation was successful, Qi Dao suddenly opened his eyes. Now more than 10 days have passed since he killed Zhang Wuxi. The moment he opened his eyes, the entire universe was shocked. On this day, the thunder tribulation of the old path is rolling, and the suppression of the Dharma ending era becomes even more intense. Success. Immortal transformation. Immortal, transcending everything, today completely subverts the old way, I will replace it. Qi Dao whispered, the aura on his body becoming more and more transcendent. He successfully stepped on everything in the old way and became transcendent in the new system. Now he begins immortal transformation and subverts the old system. Wait, what's going on? The suppression between heaven and earth is already severe enough, and most of them have become mortals. But why is the suppression still intensifying in the age of ending law? This is evolving into the age of absolute magic. Is it true that the old Tao body system has been completely overturned? All of us old Tao practitioners will be completely reduced to dust. Look, there is immortal light coming from the edge of the universe, and someone is transcending. This feeling is absolutely correct. An ancestor was shocked to discover this scene. There was eternal immortal light illuminating the universe. The great Tao was crushed and could not bear this terrifying aura. At this moment, Qi Dao's 5 major life palaces and Taoism are unified, resonating with the physical body and gradually blending in. This is Qi Dao's immortal transformation, and it is a new system that surpasses everything in the world. But correspondingly, the old Tao body system is collapsing, and all the practitioners of the old Tao body system feel that the end of the world is coming. The ancestors of the holy life level are beginning to fall crazily, and no treasure can protect them. One thing is born, all things are silent. The old way has truly been overturned and has come to an end. On this day, countless living beings were terrified. It was clear that the great Tao's guillotine fell down and struck all the living beings. All living things were destroyed at this moment, and they all returned to heaven. Even the treasures as rare as the holy medicine level lost all their splendor after the great Tao guillotine fell, and turned into the most common roadside weeds. On the bodies of those ancestors, the saint weapons they owned were decaying rapidly and turning into ordinary weapons. This process is very fast, and there is no time for people to react. The law treasure and the treasures of heaven, materials and earth have completely withered and lost all their spirituality. Of course, the most drastic changes are those of the ancestors. Because their cultivation levels are very high, and now with the collapse of the old Tao body system, when the ceiling falls, they will be the first to hit on their heads. No, my holy life level cultivation has been cut in half, and my longevity has been cut from the previous 50,000 years to less than 500 years. The old Tao body system has really collapsed, and it is no longer possible to practice the ultimate method of heaven and earth. I'm not willing to accept it. I can cross the sea of stars and look down at the powerful cultivation of a region and then disappear. The ancestor level figures are all wailing, and their realm is rapidly disappearing. The terrifying divine ability that was originally able to move mountains and reclaim seas, and even capture the stars and the moon, all failed at this moment. The spiritual power in their bodies quickly dried up, and their understanding of the world became weaker and weaker. In the end, they fell all the way, from the high to the ordinary. This is extremely despairing. Beings as powerful as the holy life level struggle desperately, but they can't stop the trend of their own realm from falling crazily. What's even more frightening is that all of this happened in one day, and the world was completely heading towards the end. First there are the ceiling level creatures, heavenly materials and earthly treasures, then there are the grotto heaven blessed lands, and the ancient sages who possess good fortune. Some people are horrified to discover that the former grotto heaven has all dried up and lost all spirituality. As for the so-called chance creation, it has decayed and turned into Lois. The old ways collapsed and everything was overturned. From this day on, cultivating immortals has truly become a joke, and mythical has become a legend. Everything is in the past, and the old Tao body system was buried in the age of ending Dharma and became a record in ancient history. Scenes that once allowed people to fly into the sky, escape from the earth, and travel across the sea of stars can now only be seen in ancient books and the handwritten notes of predecessors. As for those scriptures that can be practiced, the so-called supreme secret scriptures, they are all turned into waste paper, the kind that is hard to use in the toilet. Soon, the universe became completely quiet. No living being can break through the shackles of gravity. Everyone is just immortal. Ancestor-level figures will never be born again, but they are proud of the sea of stars. When countless creatures reluctantly looked up again, they could only see the eternal fairy light in the starry sky and the transcendent power in the dark. The world is ending, but everything has just begun. Qi Dao sits cross-legged on the edge of the universe, Taoism and flesh and blood blend together, and the immortal light of immortal transformation on his body becomes more and more dazzling. He is impacting the realm of immortal transformation. The decay of the world has nothing to do with him. The old way has collapsed, and it is impossible to threaten him. Immortal transformation. Immortal Tao. I will be above everything. A single thought can overturn the past and present, and a snap of my fingers can destroy all eternity. Everything in the world only exists when I open and close my eyes. From this moment forward, I will know eternity. Qi Dao made a faint sound that shook the universe, and even the entire star sea in the universe was in turmoil. Even though he has not succeeded yet, he can now clearly perceive everything in the world in one thought, and nothing can be hidden from him. Time and space have lost all meaning to him. Boom. Next, Qi Dao's life palace, which had been fused with unified harmony, officially began to integrate into his flesh and blood without encountering any obstacles, as if this road was originally smooth. In Qi Dao's body, every inch of flesh and blood is ascension, transforming into immortal power. Starting from the flesh and blood, then the root bone, then the 5 internal organs, and finally the head, this is a complete transformation process. Rumble. The great calamity thunder of heaven and earth appeared. But unlike all the previous great Tao tribulations, this thunder tribulation is invisible and formless. It is completely the rules of heaven and earth targeting Qi Dao. Dissipate. Qi Dao speaks and speaks the law, which represents the rules of immortal Tao and is the embodiment of his supreme will. Almost instantly, all the rules of the world disappeared, and they were even wailing and begging Qi Dao for mercy. The last level, the ultimate jump. I will be immortal in the end of the Dharma. Qi Dao opened his eyes and was directly detached from this world, not belonging to this time and space. On his body, the rules of immortal Tao became more and more intense, and a ray of immortal power made the universe wail, as if it would be broken at any time. At this moment, the Lord of the 9 Forbidden Zones could not sit still at all, his expression was frightened, and it was impossible to allow Qi Dao to transcend. Our Taoist system has completely collapsed, the world is rotten, and immortality is no longer available. It's that person who is detached. He is above the old way and has completely trampled the old way under his feet. Now, he is building his own new system, and it is almost successful. It has reached the most critical moment. The Lord of the restricted area broke out of his dormant place, and the people got a complete immortal level treasure. It is precisely because of this that the Lord of the 9 Forbidden Zones can withstand the terrifying oppression of the Age of Absolute Magic, and can compete with the world through immortal level treasures. Of course, this is only temporary. The immortal weapon is also decaying under this situation. It is just a matter of time. They have been aloof for several epochs, how could they be willing to become commonplace? He should have intervened long ago. He should not have been allowed to defeat Zhang Wuxi easily. He is a person who represents our old Tao body system. The owner of the Forbidden Land regretted it. He holds a luminous instrument of immortality, a piccolo, which constantly emits the rules of immortal Tao to protect him from the interference of the world. At this moment, he felt extremely regretful. He was really too arrogant before. After all, they all have a complete immortal weapon in the 9 restricted areas, and they think everything is under control. The most important thing is that they have made huge preparations several epochs ago and do not want to cause any changes. What I didn't expect was that Tao was the biggest change. It's too late to say anything now, but we don't have no chance at all. He has not completely transcended. How can a new system be successfully transcended without going through thousands of attempts? Now, let's take action with the 9 immortal weapons. We must stop him. The owner of the Forbidden Fairy Lake said with murderous intent, the immortal weapon in his hand as a lantern, Qian Wangjiao, the eternal light shines inside. This was agreed by the owners of other restricted areas. They did not want their long years of preparation to be shattered in this era of lawlessness. What we have in our hands are complete immortal weapons. They are the highest level embodiment of Taoism in each era. Only one can be produced in one era in the human world. Even if he is really transcendent, we don't need to be afraid of the toilet. Do it, the owner of the forbidden area, Fallen Blood Cliff, shouted. At this moment, the masters of the 9 restricted areas did not hesitate and decisively joined forces to attack Qi Dao, hoping to break the state he was in at the moment. Being disturbed at such a juncture is often a taboo for practitioners, as it is easy for them to go crazy. Boom. When the 9 complete immortal weapons are killed, the destructive power is naturally extremely terrifying. With the immortal Tao rules destroying everything, the heaven and earth are wailing. However, when the divine light faded away, the Lord of the 9 Forbidden Zones found that his methods could not really touch Qi Dao. Today, Qi Dao is no longer in this world, he is detached, and no one in this world can touch him. How can it be? He has reached the final step and has transcended the world. Our methods are ineffective against him. Once he succeeds and wakes up, we will all die. The master of the Forbidden Land's voice trembled, and after realizing this, he almost couldn't hold the immortal weapon in his hand. The Qi Dao in front of them already exuded a trace of immortal power, making each of them feel frightened. This is the true power of immortality. With just one thought, the glory of the world will be destroyed and everything will be destroyed. There is no way out. So what if it's the last minute? How can the shackles between heaven and earth be easily broken? As long as he hasn't truly transcended, we all have a chance. The owner of the restricted area of Burying God Ridge said with a crazy look on his face. Don't forget, we still have the last word. Sacrifice to the world, sacrifice to this world and all things. We can transcend too. As soon as this statement came out, the owners of the other 8 restricted areas showed hesitation, feeling that the time was not yet ripe. Do you really want to start it now? To destroy this world in advance and restore energy will result in only 1 or 2 people achieving success in the end. The veiled restricted area woman said with a frown. The World Sacrifice Formation was a backup plan they started preparing several epochs ago. It has been brewing for a long time, just to achieve immortality in this world. However, the collapse of the old Dao body system and Qi Dao's detachment disrupted their original plan, and now they have to advance it. It's better than failure. There's no time now. He is detached, so we are also detached. By the way, we use the 9 immortal weapons to intervene with him. If we can stop it, we will do it. The owner of Burial God Ridge gritted his teeth and said. The next moment, he used his monstrous power to create a terrifying formation, covering countless star domains. Seeing this scene, the masters of the other 8 restricted areas no longer hesitated and used divine ability to manifest the remaining sacrifice formations. This formation uses the entire world as a sacrifice, and all living creatures will turn into nothing, just to fulfill them. Ha ha ha, it finally begins. After 6 long years of planning, everything will be successful on this day. If anyone is immortal, it must be us. After giving it all, the Lord of the 9 Forbidden Zones completely let go without any burden. After all, compared to immortality, what does it mean to sacrifice an entire world? At this moment, all the creatures that have become mortals feel an inexplicable aura of destruction, which is the real doomsday. Everyone, don't forget that he is there, let's stop him together. If we can make him go crazy at the last moment, and then sacrifice him together, the 9 of us will be immortal together. The owner of Burial God Ridge holds a string of blood beads, which is the dew of immortality he controls. Good. Having come to this point, the masters of the 9 restricted areas naturally cannot hesitate any longer and can only go to the dark side. Either Qi Dao is transcendent, or they are immortal. Boom. The edge of the universe exploded again, and the immortal Dao rules that the 9 immortal weapons jointly broke out finally touched Qi Dao and had some impact. However, What no one expected was that Qi Dao also opened his eyes at this moment, his eyes seeming to come from the long future. The heaven and earth screamed, the universe was turbulent, and the boundless space of the universe was penetrated by this gaze. What frightened the owner of the burial god Ridge even more was that the immortal artifact in his hand cracked directly, and the immortal Dao rules in it passed away and were absorbed by Qi Dao. "No, my weapon of immortality," the owner of the burial god Ridge shouted, his expression extremely frightened. This was an immortal weapon that he had gathered an entire era of creation to finally build. However, under the gaze of Qi Dao, it directly cracked and lost its immortal divinity. But what frightened them the most was yet to come. Qi Dao moved, and the rich immortal Dao rules in his body broke all the shackles between heaven and earth, and he became completely pregnant under his urging. At this BFEB moment, Qi Dao completed the ultimate leap, truly immortal transformation, and became the #1 immortal in the apocalypse. Boom! In one step, Qi Dao returned from a state of transcendence to the current world. Just a trace of immortality exuded from his body, which crushed the void, causing the rules of heaven and earth to continue to break, making it difficult to carry his current body. The whole world is wailing, and the great Dao is trampled under the feet of Qi Dao. This is the true king of the world. No wonder you can be so high up and turn your own place into a restricted area. It turns out there is a complete immortal weapon. Qi Dao walks slowly, one step at a time, no longer measured by spatial distance. And as he approached, the masters of the 9 forbidden areas were all frightened by the immortal aura on his body, and they crouched in the sea of stars, trembling, unable to even raise their heads. They felt that their souls were trembling and shaking uncontrollably. As for all their thoughts just now, they all became empty at this moment. Their minds went blank and they couldn't think of anything. The so-called half-step immortality is nothing but an ant in the face of true immortality. A thin line separates us, a chasm between us. Interesting. Qi Dao ignored these 9 people and easily took away the immortal evil in their hands. In the face of true immortality, even the immortal weapon is trembling and wailing, unable to compete. This is no longer on the same level, just like a 3-year-old baby holding a giant axe, it is impossible to hurt an adult. The ultimate product of every era. It turns out that the human world cannot achieve immortality, but it can make the treasure transcend and protect you. I'll take it, Qi Dao said nonchalantly. In one thought, he knew everything, and then erased all the marks on the 9 immortal tools. Almost at the same time, the masters of the 9 restricted areas coughed up blood and turned pale, but they couldn't even think of a single thought. They were too insignificant in front of Qi Dao. Is there another big formation? Is this what you have been preparing for a long time? It's not bad. That's it for now. Qi Dao discovered the resurrected world sacrifice formation, and as soon as he pointed it out, the long years of preparations of the Lord of the 9 forbidden zones came to nothing. As for these 9 people, he no longer paid attention to them. There are all ants under the immortality. There is no one worthy of his attention, and he does not want to take action because of this. He is tired of it. Until Qi Dao walked away, the masters of the 9 forbidden areas all turned pale and roared unwillingly. Everything is ruined, Hikiri is gone. Either kill me, or return my immortal weapon, and I will fight with you. The owner of the Shanyu restricted area shouted, but did not receive any response. Soon, they became desperate, knowing that Qi Dao regarded them as ants, and they were not even qualified to let Qi Dao take action. Murder and heart-wrenching. As time went by, because they no longer had the protection of the immortal weapon, their cultivation and longevity in their bodies also dropped rapidly, and they eventually died in the cold and silent wasteland of the universe. Bury the old Dao body system, and everything in this world will become a thing of the past. Qi Dao walks in the universe and feels the loneliness and desertedness in the universe. Nowadays, the heaven and earth are completely destroyed, everything in the old Dao body system has collapsed, and the Dao body system is no longer repaired. Looking at the entire universe, he is the only one who is aloof and unaffected by the laws of heaven and earth. At this moment, Qi Dao silently understood the changes that had taken place in his body after the immortal transformation. In his body, the 5 major life palaces have disappeared, and the origin of Taoism is completely integrated with the physical body, regardless of each other. Now, he has the overriding immortal Dao rules in his hand. In a single thought, he can destroy this world, or he can reopen this world, evolve and grow all things. Even the great Tao of this world has now surrendered at his feet and dare not resist. This is the true transcendence of immortal transformation, and there is no longer any opponent in the world. But along with it, there is also a feeling of loneliness. No, I still have my master, junior sister, elders and the entire Qingshu sect's senior brothers, they are with me. Now, it's time for Qingshu Mountain to be reborn. Qi Dao's eyes were bright, and he released Qingshu Mountain again in one thought. But Qingshu Mountain was too small. With a thought, Qi Dao directly moved the 9 restricted areas to get rid of all the murderous intent and terrifying power in the restricted areas. After confirming safety, the 9 restricted areas merged with Qingshu Mountain, turning into a huge alien continent. What's going on? Elder Qingshu and others were shocked when they saw one piece of fast restricted continent flying in and merging with Qingshu Mountain. After the success, Qingshu Mountain was 100 times bigger than it was at the beginning. When Qi Dao fell into Qingshu Mountain, the elders and disciples were all shocked to the extreme. They could truly feel the terrifying power gathered in Qi Dao's body, which was extremely transcendent. For a moment, they did not dare to approach Qi Dao. At this time, a beautiful figure flew over and rushed into Dao's arms. "Brother, you are finally back. The elders and I miss you so much. Can you please not leave again this time?" Yu Qing threw herself into Qi Dao's arms and sobbed. Qi Dao had previously put the entire Qingshu Mountain into the Palace of Life, and this separation lasted for a month. For her, it was like parting between life and death, and it was extremely tortuous. "Okay, I won't leave this time. I promise you." Qi Dao touched her head, still looking doting on her face. Now that he is invincible in the world, he will naturally stay in Qingshu Mountain to accompany his junior sister and elders. As for his elders and brothers in Qingshu Mountain, Qi Dao has no heirs and is not at all like an immortal being who has become an immortal. Soon, when the atmosphere relaxed, Elder Qingshu, Yu Xuanzi and others finally showed their long-lost smiles. Afterwards, many fellow apprentices came forward to congratulate him, and everyone on Qingshu Mountain was enjoying themselves, as if they were back to the past. Unlike the outside, Qingshu Mountain has not changed much and has not been affected in any way. In fact, the spiritual energy here is even more intense, filling the entire Qingshu Mountain like fairy mist. After this period of time, even the spirit beasts in the mountains have grown up and have considerable strength. And in the back mountain, a complete holy medicine plant grew, and it was extremely vigorous. Together with the previous 3 holy medicine strains, this is already the 4th strain. Nowadays, the unparalleled magic in the world and the spiritual energy disappear. Only Qingshu Mountain can remain like this under the protection of Qi Dao. The outside world is now completely incapacitated, the spiritual energy is exhausted, and everything is withered. The most important thing is that the old Dao body system has completely collapsed. After the greetings, Qi Dao told everyone everything about the outside world today, which shocked the elders and disciples. How could it be so fast? Didn't the previous situation in the lawless era not have very strong suppression? How come less than a year has passed and everything has changed? Elder Qingshu couldn't calm down and sighed. This is the general trend of heaven and earth, and no one knows what changes will occur every day in the future. The collapse of the old Dao body system has become a thing of the past with the end of the Dharma era, and everything is in vain. Qi Dao said. He created a new system to prepare for this moment. Even if there is no magic in heaven and earth, the entire Qingshu Mountain can be safe and sound, and he protects all the elders and disciples from being troubled by birth, old age, illness and death. So, now the entire world is completely unable to practice cultivation, and will fall into the era of absolute law from now on. Yu Xuanzi asked in shock. Right, everything in the old ways is over, and no one can avoid it. Qi Dao responded affirmatively. This is really big news, and even Elder Qingshu and others find it difficult to accept it, let alone those cultivators who have become mortals. I am afraid that everything in the world has already been in turmoil. After Qi Dao chatted with the elders about the outside world, he once again drew the divine spring from his body and poured it into every part of Qingshu Mountain, making the Jedi rejuvenate and full of spiritual energy. At the same time, he also used the immortal Dao rules to protect the entire Qingshu Mountain, almost turning Qingshu Mountain into a real fairyland. Even if a mortal does nothing in Qingshu Mountain, his cultivation will steadily increase, and he does not need to worry about longevity. If it weren't for Qi Dao to create a new system, our current fate would be the same as those in the outside world. We would have become mortals and have only a few years to live. Yes, who can successfully fight for the crossing and survive in the end of the Dharma era? Qi Dao did it and protected the entire Qingshu Mountain. When mentioning this matter, the elders and disciples were all grateful. In the vast world, only Qingshu Mountain can still practice cultivation, and everyone who practices the new system can ignore the influence of the age of absolute Dharma. Brother, my level has improved. During the time when you were away, I have been practicing hard. Now, I have been promoted to the realm of Life Palace. After Qi Dao came back, Yu Qing clung to him almost every step of the way, excitedly reporting her results to Qi Dao. Before this, Qi Dao had checked the situation of each elder and disciple in advance and found that their cultivation level improved rapidly. In the entire Qingshu Mountain, apart from himself, Elder Qingshu has the highest cultivation level. He has reached the peak of the Divine Spring realm and can almost break through the entering Spirit stage realm. The speed of this kind of realm improvement is not unpleasant. Junior sister is very talented and really powerful. She makes even my senior brother feel ashamed. Qi Dao praised his junior sister, which made Yu Qing giggle. This is what you said, senior brother, so how do you plan to reward me? Yu Qing's voice was soft and waxy, making people feel weak both physically and mentally. At the same time, she looked at Qi Dao with expectant eyes. Award. Qi Dao rolled his eyes and guessed what his little junior sister was thinking. Seeing the affection in her eyes, Qi Dao suddenly felt something in his heart and hugged her into Fang Zongyi. Chapter 91. After rewarding his junior sister for 3 consecutive days, Qi Dao walked out of the room refreshed. When he was about to go fishing for some spiritual turtles to replenish his body, Qi Dao suddenly felt something in his heart and he came to the starry sky in one step. Then, he saw a soft light, which actually represented the will of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Once upon a time, the will of the great Tao of this world was high, overlooking everything. Until Qi Dao was detached, it now took the initiative to come to the door, which made Qi Dao confused. What are you doing here? Qi Dao looked at the embodiment of the great Tao's will in front of him, and he had many guesses in his mind. But Qi Dao still felt a little shocked by the will of the great Tao of heaven and earth. The old Tao has collapsed and been overturned. I can carry your Tao and teach it to the world. At that time, the thoughts of all living beings will bless you. It said slowly, carry my Taoism. Why, can you end this Dharma ending era? Qi Dao did have the idea of replacing the old way before, but he couldn't help but hesitate when he thought of using the will of the great Tao in this world as a carrier. The age of Dharma ending cannot end, and I cannot intervene. Quote. Speaking of which, the root cause of the Dharma ending age does not lie with me. It's just because your Taoism can ignore the suppression of the old Tao body system and the age of ending laws that I came to you to carry your Taoism. For a pioneer like you, who has achieved immortality in the end of the Dharma, your name should remain in the eternity and last forever. The great Tao will said so. Qi Dao is keenly aware of something. Not even the will of the great Tao in this world can end the age of Dharma ending, or even intervene. So what is the root of the age of Dharma ending? You just said that the root cause of the era of trouble is not with you. Right. The essence is that the old way has come to an end, and I am still just the will of heaven and earth that carries the old way. The great Tao will responded like this, and then said, the old Tao body system has collapsed, and there are no laws in the world, but the essence is not in me, so I hope to carry the new Tao body system and give all living beings some hope. The decision is yours. You can refuse or even reshape me. Qi Dao was a little surprised, but was still weighing it in his mind. After a while, Qi Dao agreed, and pointed out that the realm of the entire new Taoism system, as well as the method of practice, were handed over to the will of the great Tao. As for how those countless creatures want to practice, let them explore on their own. In the age of absolute Dharma, there is no Tao in heaven and earth to rely on for practice, so the only way to find Tao is through the physical body. When the great Taos will carried Qi Dao's Taoist system, countless creatures suddenly felt something in their hearts, always feeling like they were enlightened. It's just the beginning now. No one has noticed the abnormality in flesh and blood for the first time. It still takes time, but it's enough. Let me tell you something before I leave. Now that you are above me, the human world is not a place where you should stay for a long time. The immortal gate will come again soon. Great Tao said before his will disappeared. It was simply earth-shattering. Immortal gate. Are you talking about the immortal gate that has disappeared for a long time and allows people to ascend to immortality and enter the immortal world? Qi Dao was a little shocked. He had heard those ancestors mention the immortal gate, but he only knew that it had not appeared for a long time, so no one in the world could achieve immortality. Who would have thought that in this Dharma-ending era, the 4 gates would reappear? Yes, it's the immortal gate. In total, 10 eras have passed since the last time immortal gate appeared. You just need to wait patiently, and the immortal gate will reappear. In that vast immortal world, that's where you should stay. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a waste of the new system you created? Even if you are truly powerful and peerless, it would be interesting to see the founder of the old system. Great Dao's will told him this, making Qi Dao's mood fluctuate. The founder of the old Dao body system is still there. Qi Dao asked. It's natural. Those who can open up the old Dao body system are also as talented as you, are astonishing to the past and the present, and are older than me. I don't know about more things. You can think about it yourself. Great Dao willed and disappeared. And the founder of the old Dao body system. It seems that the world after Immortal Gate is even grander and larger. Qi Dao can't help but be fascinated by it. As a cultivator, who doesn't want to reach a higher level, want to be more powerful, and be able to control the birth and death of the world in a single thought. What's more, Qi Dao created a new system. It would be impossible without ambition. Since the Immortal Gate is about to open, I will wait patiently. It saves me the trouble of searching for it myself. Qi Dao thought like this and returned to Qingshu Shanshan. In order to prepare in advance, he took out the 9 immortal weapons and prepared to create his own immortal Dao treasure. Except for the blood bead inside which has been broken, the other immortal Dao artifacts are still intact and can be smelted together to create an extremely powerful immortal Dao treasure. Use my Daoist system as fire to smelt an immortal Dao treasure that belongs to me. But what kind of treasure should we create? Qi Dao began to feel worried. There are 18 kinds of weapons in the world, all of which have their own strengths. Among them, the sword has the reputation of being the best of all weapons. Every top person will immediately think of making swords when making a treasure. However, Qi Dao gave up this idea after just thinking about it. After passing all kinds of thoughts in his mind, Qi Dao finally locked the immortal Dao treasure he was going to create into a clock. The bell is gathered together. Gathered together with utensils, it carries all evils. The morning and evening begin with the clock, and the dusk ends with the clock. Qi Dao confirmed it, and immediately used the immortal Dao rules to smelt all 9 immortal weapons into black gold. It has to be said that every piece of immortal equipment that can be built in the human world is a rare treasure and the supreme embodiment of an era. Now that meltdown is being refined, it is like building it together over a long period of time. If Qi Dao hadn't already transcended and achieved immortality, it would still be difficult to smelt the 9 immortal weapons together. The power produced would be too terrifying. In the middle of the process, Qi Dao did not forget to put in the true dragon bone, true dragon picture, and heaven-slaying sword that he had obtained before and melt them together. For a month, the Dao fire in the sea of stars in the universe has been at its peak, extremely dazzling and bright. Qi Dao used its own Daoism system as the fire and the immortal Dao rules as the furnace to completely smelt the 9 immortal weapons into a treasure. When the immortal Dao's supreme treasure was successful, the great Dao of heaven and earth congratulated it, and the rays of light fell down. Compared with the previous 9 immortal weapons, this exquisite and crystal clear Dao bell is more powerful. It is a true treasure with complete immortal Dao rules. Finally, Qi Dao left the name Immortal Transformation Fairy Bell on the bell body. The fairy bell is dazzling, its whole body is crystal clear, exuding a faint aura of immortality, suppressing the world. It was placed on the main mountain of Qingshu Mountain by Qi Dao. It will ring twice a day, once at dawn and once at dusk. Whenever the bell rings, the immortal sound sweeps across the entire universe, allowing all living beings to hear it. Everything is ready, just waiting for the immortal gate to open. Hopefully it won't be too long. Qi Dao is sitting cross-legged in the immortal palace on Qingshu Mountain, his whole body is covered by the rich aura of immortality. The secret of heaven is unpredictable. For the next whole year, Qi Dao was in retreat, preparing for the opening of the immortal gate. However, since reaching the realm of immortal transformation, Qi Dao found that he had completely reached the ceiling level, and the new system could no longer make breakthroughs. This also made Qi Dao more convinced that he would only improve further if he entered the world within the immortal gate. Otherwise, the current environment of this vast world does not allow it, and he will not be able to open up a higher level. This year is also the first year of the 15th generation of the Judgment Period. In the human world, on countless stars, the ascetics who have long been reduced to ordinary people have begun to accept their situation and no longer force themselves. Those who are obsessed with the Taoism will either retreat to the mountains or go to the sea to seek the slim hope in the legend. Generally speaking, everything in the world has returned to normal, and no one talks about cultivating immortals anymore. Occasionally, former ancestors would show up and cause trouble, but they would only cause laughter. Everyone knew the secrets of heaven and earth, and cultivation became a thing of the past. During this period, Qi Dao also took his junior sister to travel across the Sea of Stars, and finally came to play on a huge life star. This life star once had a name, called the ancient Tuozu star. More than a year has passed, but the sea has changed, and I don't know if Gutuo is okay. Qi Dao said softly. If he hadn't taken Yuqing on a trip, he would have even forgotten that there was such a planet that he had saved. Nowadays, although the people on this Gutuo ancestral planet are still members of the Stone Clan, because Gutuo has also become immortal, the blood cohesion that once existed has become much weaker. More people are working hard to make a living. Senior brother, have you been here? Yuqing held Qi Dao's arm affectionately and asked. She naturally heard Qi Dao's whisper. During this period, the Stone Tribe people had turned their attention to the arrival of Qi Dao and Yuqing, and were extremely curious. Because Qi Dao and Yuqing are so transcendent, they have a completely different charm from mortals like them. Especially Yuqing, after she was nourished by some of Qi Dao's immortal Dao rules, her jade body was crystal clear and her skin was as white as jade. She was like an immortal descending to the earth, attracting attention wherever she went. Even women would be amazed by Yuqing's beauty, and the city she passed on the road caused some sensation. Qi Dao is also similar. Some people even recognized his appearance and thought he looked very similar to the man who once saved the entire ancestral star. In the end, in order not to cause a sensation, Qi Dao had no choice but to use some tricks, so no one noticed them anymore. I've been here once before. Since you're here, let's also pay a visit to that old friend. Qi Dao affirmed, holding her jade hand and traveling around every prosperous city. If he wants to find someone, his thoughts can run through the entire universe, and nothing can escape his thoughts. However, Qi Dao deliberately restrained all his aura and divine ability this time, and traveled around the world like an ordinary person with Yuqing, letting everything take its course. Otherwise, it would be too boring. Senior brother, look, there's candied haws of sugar. I want. Seeing a street vendor carrying candied haws of water walking down the street, Yuqing's eyes lit up, and she pouted and acted coquettishly towards Qi Dao. There's really nothing I can do about you. You are really the same as before. You act like a foodie after you come down from the mountain. Qi Dao smiled slightly and naturally agreed. I want them all. Qi Dao didn't bring any money, but he turned a stone the size of his fist into gold and gave it to the vendor. Before the vendor could react, Qi Dao had already disappeared with Yuqing and the candied haws on his back. Am I getting rich? The vendor was stunned, and after slapping himself hard, he realized that this was actually true. At another street corner, Qi Dao appeared with Yuqing as if nothing had happened, his 4 hands full of candied haws. Senior brother, it's true that I like candied haws, but you are exaggerating. Why did you buy them all? Yuqing didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but the taste was unambiguous. Seeing that her mouth was full of sugar residue, the smile on Qi Dao's face became even thicker, as if he was still the saint child who secretly took his junior sister down the mountain. Why are you laughing, huh? Yuqing's face became hot when Qi Dao saw him, and she quickly turned her pretty face to the side. Throughout the afternoon, Qi Dao and Yuqing visited the food stalls in the city. Needless to say, the taste was extremely delicious. In the evening, Qi Dao chartered a small boat, and under the guidance of the boatman, Qidao and Yu Qing enjoyed the nighttime beauty of this ancient city. Brother, the world is so beautiful. Can I stay like this forever with you? Yu Qing leaned on Qidao's shoulder and muttered. On the bank of the river, there are talented people reciting poems and composing poems, and beautiful women dancing with the moon. Everything is calm and beautiful. Hearing Yu Qing's words, Qidao's heart suddenly moved and he held her in his arms. Of course, I will take you to coexist with the world. It is eternal and immortal. I can stay with you as long as you want to stay in this world. Qidao said softly. Yu Qing suddenly burst into laughter like silver bells, and the flower branches trembled. Brother, we are in the human world. Don't always say things like coexisting with the world and being immortal, which will ruin the current atmosphere. Say it again. Ruin the atmosphere. Qidao pursed his lips, hesitated for a moment, and then gradually raised the corners of his mouth with a mysterious smile. Junior sister. Kindness. When we go back this time, we'll get married, okay? Yu Qing was stunned immediately, and her beautiful face suddenly turned red. Senior brother, what did you say? Yu Qing sighed, feeling like her heart was about to jump out of her chest, thinking that her senior brother was too bold. I mean, when we go back this time, we will get married. Qidao amplified the sound, but it was covered up by the more lively sounds of fireworks by the river. Only Yu Qing could hear it clearly. At this moment, Yu Qing felt as if she had fallen into the clouds. The feelings that had accumulated in her heart for more than 10 years exploded at this moment, making her dizzy. Needless to say, she has fallen directly and cannot extricate herself. That night, the full moon crossed the sky, and the bright moonlight fell on the world, reflecting the shadows of the two people leaning against each other. The next day, Qidao took Yu Qing all the way eastward and left this ancient city. At noon, the two of them visited a farmer's house and saw an old farmer working in the field. Although he is over 60 years old, his body is still strong, with a trace of the charm of the past. Qidao recognized this person from a distance, but did not tell him immediately until he approached the old farmer. The old farmer who was farming heard the footsteps and looked up while wiping the sweat on his face. When he saw that heroic and familiar face again, he paused, then his hands trembled and he burst into tears. Grown-ups. Ji Yutuo knelt down in the field with a pop, and Yu Qing quickly stepped forward to help him up. Long time no see, Ji Yutuo. Are you okay? Qidao seemed to be greeting an old friend, with a smile on his face and no airs. This made Ji Yutuo even more excited. Unexpectedly, Qidao still remembered him. Thank you for your concern, sir. Everything is fine now. You can farm your own land, have enough food and clothing, and your life is pretty good. Sir, please come in quickly. Ji Yutuo nodded repeatedly, and then invited Dao and Yu Qing into the simple thatched house he built with his own hands. Qidao and Yu Qing didn't mind either and followed him into the house. As soon as he entered the house, Ji Yutuo started to make arrangements, boiling water and preparing tea. However, after working for a long time, he only boiled 2 bowls of water and finally gave them to Qidao and Yu Qing. No need to bother, just take a rest, Qidao said, and then asked about what happened this year. Ji Yutuo sighed, unwillingness and loneliness appeared in his eyes again. Compared with Qidao, Gutuo has undergone tremendous changes in this year. After the great heaven and earth magic, he completely became immortal and fell from the sky to the ground in one day. This huge gap made him almost want to die. After all, he was once an ancestor-level figure with a holy life, overlooking the sea of stars and protecting his ancestral star. He has lived for hundreds of thousands of years, and his parents, children, and grandchildren have all been buried in the years by his own hands, and they all died before him. Those on the ancestral star are now only his descendants who don't know how many generations later. It is precisely because of this that after being completely reduced to a mortal, he became a loner. In fact, it was not that no one cared about this former ancestor, but that Ji Yutuo felt lonely and unspeakable. He refused the help of those descendants and came to settle in this field alone. After a year of farming, he has gradually become familiar with this kind of life of working at sunrise and resting at sunset. This is all I can do with my old bones, I have nothing else to ask for. Quote, the ultimate method of heaven and earth can no longer be practiced, and I have given up. Speaking of which, I have to thank you for protecting me, the ancestral star of the Stone Clan, back then, otherwise I would not be able to return to my homeland now that I have become immortal. Ji Yutuo sighed, but Qi Dao could clearly see that there was still unwillingness in his eyes. How could a once lofty ancestor completely let go of everything in the past within a year? That is impossible. You and I have feelings for each other. I can give you Helen again. Are you willing to go back with me and start practicing again? Qi Dao thought for a while and said. He originally thought that Ji Yutuo would happily agree, but Ji Yutuo hesitated for a moment and then decisively refused. Sir, I appreciate your kindness. But you have already helped me once before, how can I trouble you again? What's more, after 1 year of Huefa, I have no intention of practicing it again. I know adults want to help me, but it's really not necessary. I have already enjoyed the most splendid time in the world, so it might as well end like this. Ji Yutuo said. That's it. Qi Dao saw that his eyes were firm and he was obviously sincere. Of course, he could not force him to embark on the path of cultivation again. If it were anyone else, I'm afraid he would be eager to be taken away by Qi Dao. While the two were talking, a little guy with no shoes and muddy feet ran in outside. He looked like he was only 7 or 8 years old. As soon as he entered the door, this cute little guy shouted, "Grandpa, Mom asked you to come over for lunch." Okay, go right now. Ji Yutuo picked him up. Seeing that both Qi Dao and Yu Qing were a little confused, he immediately explained, "This is my direct descendant, even I have forgotten how many generations ago, so I asked him to call me Grandpa." Shi Luo, why don't you call someone? Big brother, because of my sister. Shi Luo's 2 big eyes were very bright, and he was extremely well behaved, and he screamed immediately. What a cute little baby. Yu Qing's innate maternal love overflowed, and she hugged Shi Luo happily into her arms, regardless of the mud on her feet. Only then did she realize that Shi Luo was holding a small stuffed doll tightly in his hand. His facial features were a little blurry, but she could still tell that he looked somewhat similar to Qi Dao. What's this? Yu Qing was surprised. She stared at the little puppet again and then looked at her senior brother. She was convinced that this little puppet was her senior brother, but it was very mini. This is our savior hero. Grandpa said that as long as he is here, we don't have to worry about anything. Shi Luo said extremely seriously. So that's it. Yu Qing and Qi Dao both laughed when they heard this. Later, Qi Dao and Yu Qing went to the home of Ji Yutuo's direct descendants for lunch at the invitation of Ji Yutuo. The child may not be able to see anything, but when Qi Dao entered the house, the family immediately recognized him and were very excited. If Qi Dao hadn't stopped them, they would have kneeled down directly. During lunch time, the meal was very simple, just what ordinary farmers usually eat. Neither Qi Dao nor Yu Qing disliked it. It was as if they were having dinner at home, and they had a great time chatting with each other. Before leaving, Qi Dao secretly tapped Shi Luo's eyebrows, leaving the spirit root in his body. In the afternoon, Qi Dao and Yu Qing left. Say goodbye to big brother and big sister. Ji Yutuo and Shi Luo's family said with tears in their eyes, knowing that this farewell is forever. Goodbye, big brother and big sister. Shi Luo said obediently while playing with the puppet in his hand, saying goodbye to Qi Dao and Yu Qing. Until the two people's backs became farther and farther away, the little guy suddenly raised his head and looked at his parents and grandparents with 2 big eyes. Grandpa, Dad, Mom. That big brother looks like our savior hero. He was extremely serious and looked at the puppet in his hand. At this moment, Ji Yutuo burst into tears again. Everything in the past comes to an end. Senior brother, do you really not care about them? Before leaving Gutuo Star Domain, Yu Qing asked Qi Dao next to her. That's their choice, I won't interfere. At least, everything is peaceful in the world now, and they can have nothing to do. It's all over, Qi Dao said calmly, and Yu Qing said nothing more. Where else do you want to go? I'll accompany you. Qi Dao smiled again. I want to travel around the world and want to visit every place. Because, I always have a feeling that you will leave us in the future. Yu Qing said seriously this time, which made Qi Dao's heart tremble. No way, I will never leave you. Even if the legendary Immortal Gate reappears, I will take you with me if I want to enter. Ascension. Qi Dao said with firm eyes. Afterwards, he changed the topic and took Yuqing to the next star domain to play, and quickly put the matter behind him. For the next 5 years, Qi Dao traveled around the world with Yuqing, experiencing the fireworks of the mortal world. The two of them traveled to every living planet in the star domain, leaving their footprints in every human place. However, just as he was about to return to Qingshu Mountain after traveling, he passed through the vast star domain and Qi Dao was keenly aware of a familiar atmosphere. After falling down, Yuqing immediately exclaimed that there was a monster here. Isn't it that magic has already been eliminated in this world? Why do such monsters still appear? Brother, please take action quickly and help them. Yuqing said anxiously. It was a black tiger as huge as a mountain. It was full of evil energy. It seemed to be playing with the city wall and directly knocked down a huge city. The tens of thousands of people in the city were terrified and fled in all directions. Who could have imagined that in today's era of absolute law, such a monster would appear? No one can compete with it. Roar! The black tiger roared, seeming to enjoy the fun. It moved forward slowly, not actively hurting anyone, but just knocking down city walls and houses and enjoying the process. Until Qi Dao came in front of it with Yuqing, the black tiger was about to have a seizure, but it started to tremble inexplicably, and soon shrank its body, turning into a little black cat and falling into Yuqing's hands. Grown-ups, why are you here? The little black cat was trembling and did not dare to look at Qi Dao. At this time, Yuqing also recognized it. This guy had clearly become a spirit on Qingshu Mountain, a bobcat from spirit communication. Unexpectedly, after practicing day and night and achieving a certain level of cultivation, he would sneak down the mountain. I just want to know how you escaped. Qi Dao frowned, but fortunately no mortal BFFB person was injured, otherwise he would have to be skinned off anyway. He knew very well that if his cultivation had not reached the realm of heaven, it would be impossible to cross the sea of stars and leave Qingshu Mountain. The only explanation is that this little guy also brought out a law treasure that can span the universe. Sure enough, the little black cat in Yuqing's arms immediately took out a fragment of the treasure, which was the leftover material left behind by Qi Dao when he built the immortal transformation fairy bell. Sir, I stole this thing and ran away. I swear, I just came out to have fun and I definitely didn't hurt anyone. The little black cat drooped his ears and said, naturally he knew he was wrong. He originally just wanted to go out for 2 days and go back before anyone found out. Unexpectedly, Qi Dao and Yuqing were caught directly this time. Why don't you stay in the mountains? What are you doing in the human world? Don't you know what it means for you to appear in the world now? It's scary to see. Qi Dao said nothing. Yuqing lectured. On the ground, people were crying and howling everywhere in the destroyed towns. This day was destined to be unforgettable for them. I know I was wrong. The little black cat said quickly, secretly glancing at Qi Dao. Fortunately, Qi Dao didn't care too much, after all, it never hurt anyone. It seems that the discipline on you on the mountain is still too loose. You will have to let the elders control you after you return this time. Besides, tell me the truth, are there any other guys who sneaked out like you? Qi Dao said with a headache. There's a few. The little black cat opened his little paws and counted carefully, and finally came to the conclusion that there were about 20 sperms who had sneaked out like him. In the end, of course Qi Dao took action personally and caught all the sneaky guys in his hands. Not surprisingly, these restless little guys have stolen the scraps he left behind after building the immortal Dao treasure. Although they are just leftovers, if you put them in the world, they are the supreme treasure. You guys really don't make people worry. Qi Dao looked at the group of little guys in front of him who bowed their heads and admitted their mistakes, somewhat helpless. Sir, we have realized our mistake and will never dare to do it again. They uniformly admitted their mistakes. Fortunately, Qi Dao and Yuqing didn't care and took them back to Qingshu Mountain. After that, Qi Dao set up a barrier in Qingshu Mountain so that no one could easily leave Qingshu Mountain. Otherwise, with the current situation in Qingshu Mountain, even a blade of grass falling into the world would be a devastating disaster. And that same day, Qi Dao and Yuqing personally found Elder Yuzan, who was still practicing, and formally proposed to him. Good boy, when we went out, you kidnapped my good daughter. Yu Xuanzi pretended to be angry, making Yuqing suddenly anxious. Yu Qing's face was hot, but her eyes were firm. She must marry. Why are you so anxious? Did you tell me that you disagree with this marriage? I was prepared a few years ago, but I didn't expect that your senior brother would mention this matter now. If he doesn't say anything, I will take you to propose marriage. Yu Xuanzi said loudly, which made Yu Qing feel ashamed and kept stamping her feet. What did you say, Dad? Ha 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 ha. So, Master, do you agree? Qi Dao said a little embarrassed, showing a shyness that he had not seen for many years. Nonsense, I've watched you two grow up together, can't I see that you two are in love with each other? This matter is over now. I will tell those old guys right away. Elder Yuxuan waved his hand and ran all the way to inform Elder Qingshu and others. Soon after, there was a sensation in the whole Qingshu mountain, and everyone knew the news that Qi Dao was going to marry Yu Qing. On that day, Qingshu mountain was filled with joy, and after the discussion of the elders, a good day was quickly decided, just 3 days later. 3 days later, the wedding ceremony was held as scheduled. A vision came from the sky, and the will of the great Tao descended and came to give a great gift. Congratulations on the wedding, it's just a small gift, nothing worth mentioning. The will of the great Tao appears in human form this time, sending out a hazy halo at the ceremony, which is the extremely pure origin of heaven and earth. After the origin of heaven and earth was sent out, it sank directly into Yu Qing's body, changing her root bone. Of course, the benefits don't stop there. I'm determined. Qi Dao personally entertained them and confirmed that the origin of that day was pure and without any harm. Later, at the wedding ceremony, all the auspicious beasts from ancient and modern times appeared to congratulate them, which was naturally a means of the will of heaven. Soon, Qi Dao and Yu Qing successfully married under the witness of many elders and fellow apprentices. Yu Zan was so drunk that day that he burst into tears and was carried back by Elder Qingshu and others. Finally, the day full of joy comes to an end when the newlyweds enter the bridal chamber. After the great joy, Qi Dao and Yu Qing stayed in Qingshu Mountain. On this day, the will of the great Tao came again, naturally because of the Immortal Gate incident. I have a premonition that the date of Immortal Gate's appearance may be delayed a little. Great Tao will inform Qi Dao. Can't it be more accurate? Do you have an accurate date? Then I can be ready to teach Fei Wang. Qi Dao frowned slightly. However, the great Tao will shook its head, and it could not judge accurately. Immortal Gate is too ethereal and lofty, far beyond the level that I can touch. I only judge based on innate feeling. But if nothing else happens, it should be within this 100 years. Besides, if you want to teach Ascension, it will be very difficult. No one has ever thought about teaching Ascension before, but the results were miserable. You have to know that the Immortal Gate does not appear to welcome you, but requires you to use great magic power to capture it and then force it to open. To put it simply, you are trying to break through the vast great world. You will encounter great resistance. Even if you become an immortal in the human world and have great power, it will still be difficult to enter. Not to mention Jujiao Ascension, with so many people. Even if you create a system, you can't do it unless you are willing to bet the lives of everyone in Qingshu Mountain. The great Tao will said so. Qi Dao's brows suddenly frowned. Is it true that he can't even become an immortal in the Modharma? Is there no other way? For example, you can enter that world without passing through. Qi Dao also wants to seize some opportunities. No, you don't have to think about it. If you don't believe me, you can explore on your own, but you will only be wasting your efforts. The great Tao will disappear after saying this. Qi Dao really didn't believe it and didn't give up, so he rushed into the Chaos Lord at the edge of the universe that day. Boom! He used the rules of the Immortal Tao to destroy the chaos at his fingertips and opened up a great Tao in the Chaos King Yang. After that, Qi Dao even used the divine ability to penetrate into the depths of Chaos Wang Yang, wanting to opening heaven. However, after the Chaos Wang Yang passed away, there was only a terrifying nothingness, no time, no space, nothing. As for the road to a higher level, there is no such thing. Half a month later, Qi Dao returned to Qingshu Mountain and completely gave up the idea. What's wrong, senior brother? When Yu Qing came, she put her hair up, and after getting married, she gained an inexplicable sense of maturity and plumpness, leaning on Qi Dao's shoulders. Nothing. I was just thinking how many kids we should have. Qi Dao showed a smirk, not wanting his emotions to affect Yu Qing. With a swish, Yu Qing's face turned red, she let out a squeak, and then she was carried into the room. The following days were very ordinary. Nothing happened in the world. Qi Dao also preached on Qingshu Mountain, constantly passing on his insights to the elders and disciples for practice. In the 16th year of the Age of Absolute Magic, Elder Qingshu successfully broke through and entered the realm of heaven, comparable to the Holy Mandate. I did it so quickly. Elder Qingshu was extremely surprised and felt unbelievable. You must know that he has been practicing in the old Tao body system for thousands of years but has not been able to enter the realm of holy destiny. As a result, it only took a little more than 16 years for me to practice the new Taoist system, and I successfully entered the realm of heaven. On this day, there was a great sensation in the Great Tao, celebrating the addition of an ancestor-level figure who reached the realm of heaven in the world. Now, Elder Qingshu can overlook the star domain and step into the starry sky alone. Congratulations to the elder for entering the realm of heaven. Qi Dao was the first to come to congratulate him, and he also personally checked the situation for Elder Qingshu and found that his foundation was solid and there was no problem at all. This is all thanks to you. You built Qingshu Mountain into a fairyland outside of this world, and you lectured us every day. If I still can't break through to this level, wouldn't my life be in vain? Elder Qingshu sighed. After that, Yu Xuanzi and others also came. Their strength had reached the Lingtai realm and was about to enter the heaven-reaching realm. They would probably break through within 10 years. The 30th year of the era of absolute law. Yu Xuanzi and the other 4 supreme elders also successively broke through to the realm of heaven and became ancestor-level figures who can overlook the star domain. But at the same time, disciples have also come down the mountain one after another in the past few years. Most of them are outer sect disciples, but there are also a small number of inner sect disciples. They know that there is no hope of breaking through with their own qualifications, so they actively request to go down the mountain and preach in the human world. In response, Qi Dao did not refuse, and used divine ability to send them into those star domains. Starting from this year, practitioners began to be born one after another in the human world, and naturally they all followed the new Taoist system. The 50th year of the era of absolute law. Xiaolong, the last inner disciple, also went down the mountain to enter the human world and preach. He successfully cultivated to the Lingtai realm, but he also knew that the Tongtian realm was far away, and he didn't want to waste such a good place like Qingshu Mountain, so he took the initiative to go down the mountain. Brother Headmaster, thank you for your care over the years. I am very satisfied as I am now. Before leaving, Xiaolong said while holding back tears, and then walked into the divine way and into the human world without looking back. Qingshu Mountain was naturally depressed a lot, with only the elders left. In fact, some elders are already preparing to go down the mountain. They also have no hope of breaking through and are unwilling to stay on Qingshu Mountain. In this regard, Qi Dao respected their ideas and sent them all into the living planet in the universe. In the 80th year of the Huifa era, apart from Qi Dao and Yu Qing, there were only 6 supreme elders left on Qingshu Mountain. Of course, the mountain is still very lively, because the creatures who listen to Qi Dao's lectures day and night are all spirit communication, and they all have good cultivation. Also starting from this year, a new system of Taoism was once again spread in the world, which could be practiced regardless of the suppression of heaven and earth. A new era is brewing and has begun to take shape. In the 90th year of the Huifa era, a happy event occurred on Qingshu Mountain. Yu Qing gave birth to a big fat boy. On the day of his birth, the great Tao roared and the rays of light fell from the sky. This child was born to be in harmony with the great Tao. After that, the child was baptized by Qi Dao with the rules of immortal Tao. He was a terrifying monster from birth, with the strength of 100,000 households in one hand. Senior brother, what do you think we should name him? Yu Qing's eyes were full of maternal love. This was her and Qi Dao's child. She felt that she had never been so happy. How about calling me Qi Tian? Be in harmony with heaven and earth, and be baptized by heaven. Qi Dao thought for a while and immediately got everyone's approval. For the next whole year, Qingshu Mountain was filled with joy. The first 100 years of the Age of Absolute Law. Qi Dao, who was in retreat, opened his eyes and caught a trace of immortality from the sky, which was profound and unpredictable. He knew that was when they appeared. In the past 10 epochs, this was the only opportunity, and he needed to personally seize it and open that portal. Whoosh! Qi Dao rushed from Qingshu Mountain into the universe in an instant. Then, he pushed through the fog of chaos and successfully captured the eternal fairy light that streaked across the void. It is said to be the immortal gate, but it is better to say it as a coordinate. If Qi Dao had not already become an immortal in this Dharma-ending era, it would have been difficult to capture the breath of this eternal immortal light, let alone appear in time. At this time, the eternal fairy light is flying through the void space at an extremely fast speed, disappearing in an instant. In the age of ending law, even if the immortal gate appears, you will want to leave immediately. You don't have much time, do it. Capture the immortal gate, and you can cross the immortal barrier and completely enter a vaster world. The great Dao will also appeared and said to Qi Dao. Good. Of course Qi Dao will not let go of this only opportunity. He once tried to find another way, but found that there is no other way to the immortal world in the world, the only way is through the immortal gate. Boom! Qi Dao took action directly, using his supreme means to shroud the eternal fairy light. At this moment, the sea of chaos exploded, constantly annihilating and evaporating under the rules of immortal Dao, unable to stop this terrifying power emperor at all. A big hand just crossed the boundless wasteland of the universe and the sea of chaos, and directly penetrated into the void space. However, that eternal fairy light was too fast, and it seemed to have a specific consciousness, and it actually actively avoided Qi Dao's palm. Time freezes. Qi Dao used the time scripture. Now that he has achieved immortality, the rules of immortal Dao have been manifested after using the time meridian, and the entire universe has stopped at this moment. It's like a photo is frozen in this moment. This moment is eternity. At the same time, the eternal fairy light was also greatly affected, and its speed became much slower. Qi Dao grabbed it with one hand, but he didn't expect that his palm was penetrated directly. There was an extremely terrifying force that could hurt someone of his level. What a terrifying power! It has no intention of staying in this world at all. Qi Dao withdrew his hand, and then used the immortal Dao rules to restore Eru. After realizing this, he became completely serious and took action with all his strength. Immortal transformation fairy bell, suppress. Qi Dao moved himself, and the terrible pressure made the whole world mourn and tremble. And in his hands, the immortal transformation fairy bell became even more dazzling, and every immortal Dao rule on it lit up, and now turned into a terrifying means to suppress the eternal fairy light. At the same time, the fairy bell vibrated, and the sound of the bell was so loud that it obliterated the entire void space. When, under Qi Dao's personal action, the immortal bell directly blocked the eternal fairy light, leaving it with no way to go. At this moment, Qi Dao discovered that the so-called immortal gate was a fragmented corner of the world. When Qi Dao punched a corner of the world, the void space split open directly, and a terrifying fairy light erupted on the spot, enough to destroy the entire world, but it was blocked by Qi Dao. At this time, Dao made a new discovery. Through this corner of the world, a whole new world can be opened up. It has the aura of eternity and the majestic power of the world. This is the real world after the immortal gate. Qi Dao understood all this in an instant. Of course, he is also keenly aware that this corner of the world is rapidly dissipating under the suppression of the age of ending law, and cannot last long. Even the rules of immortal Dao are afraid of suppression in the age of ending law. There isn't much time left, you have to hurry up. Are you still thinking about teaching ascension? You can feel it yourself, no need for me to say anything else. The voice of the great Dao comes from his will. Qi Dao suddenly frowned and clenched his fists. He could indeed clearly sense the terrifying movement coming from that corner of the world. Inside, there is indeed a fairy light, guarded by terrifying beings, blocking all outside entities from intruding. If you want to teach ascension, this is simply impossible. I know. I'll go back and say goodbye, and I'll be back before I disappear. Qi Dao used the immortal transformation immortal bell to suppress the eternal immortal light, and then left. This eternal fairy light only lasts for 1 day. Senior brother, what happened just now? There was such a big movement. Yu Qing, who was teaching Qi Tian how to practice, saw Qi Dao coming and hugged his arm happily. Father. 10-year-old Qi Tian also looked at his father. Both his eyes and the outline of his face were very similar to Qi Dao's, and he was very heroic. This immediately made Qi Dao's heart soften, and he really couldn't bear to leave Yu Qing and Qi Tian. There is care in the world, and even if he achieves immortality, he will still be unable to let go of this emotion. What's wrong? Yu Qing noticed something strange and found that Qi Dao showed a slightly tangled look. I might have to be gone for a while. Qi Dao felt a little bitter in her heart, but she still spoke out. Upon hearing this, Yu Qing's face turned pale instantly, and then tears filled her eyes. Her previous feeling came true. Qi Tian, take good care of your mother. I'll be back soon. Father, where are you going? Qi Tian's eyes widened, and his eyes flashed with intelligence. He also realized something and held his father's hand tightly. A place farther away. Remember, take care of your mother and protect her. Qi Dao kept reminding him, and then left 5 Supreme Sutras in his mind, which were enough for his future practice. Afterwards, Qi Dao said goodbye to his master, Elder Qingshu and others. Knowing that Qi Dao was going to a larger world, the few old people looked at each other in silence and did not stop him. They even have a long road to practice, and once they start, it is impossible to stop. If you want to become stronger, you need to pay a corresponding price. Don't worry, the 2 of them will be taken care of by us old guys, and they'll be fine. Yu Xuanzi patted Qi Dao on the shoulder and said, now he is already another existence through heaven level, and he is also Xiao Qishan's grandfather. Looking at the current world, even for a long period of time in the future, everything will be fine. Thank you so much, Master, and all the elders. Qi Dao said no more, and after finally embracing the silent Yu Qing, he stepped into the wilderness of the universe again. Brother, Yu Qing's eyes were blurry with tears, but she didn't say anything to save her. She didn't want to delay Qi Dao. What's more, it's not like she didn't think about it, she still had Qi Tian with her. One day, I will come back. Qi Dao's voice was so loud that it came back from outside. Finally, Qi Dao returned to the location of the eternal fairy light and completely blasted away this incomplete corner of the world. In an instant, a terrifying aura of murder hit his face, and he entered a terrifying extraterrestrial space. And in the distance, there is a huge fairy pass standing, unchanged from time immemorial. Extraterritorial space. The place is vast and desolate. It has not been visited for many years and there is no life at all. When Qi Dao stepped into it, he was shocked to find that there were countless bones and treasure fragments floating in this extraterritorial space, which had long been smashed. There was a great war here, and every corpse that died was a semi-immortal person in life. Even their treasures are just a hair away from reaching the level of a truly immortal weapon. It's a pity that they all died in this extraterrestrial space and no one cared about them. Qi Dao looked at some bones and came to this conclusion. No need to think too much, those who can set foot in this extraterrestrial space must be those geniuses from 10 eras ago, trying to enter the immortal world, achieve the imperishable realm world, and be high up. It's a pity that this place is very cruel. They are all dead and only the bones remain. Qi Dao did not pay too much attention to these bones and fragments because they had little value. He took one step forward, and the power in his body condensed into a spacious divine path, leading directly to the majestic immortal pass. Boom! Qi Dao held the immortal transformation immortal bell and came directly to the front of the immortal pass without concealing his aura. Kang! Just as they were approaching, terrifying formations were resurrected in the area in front of the immortal pass. They were all immortal level formations that could easily kill even half an immortal. Qi Dao is convinced that if there are half immortal creatures in the future, they will be blocked from outside, and they will be killed on the spot if they force their way in. Immortal Gate completely cuts off the thoughts of all ascetics in the world. It is impossible to enter the immortal world. If he hadn't become an immortal in the human world, I'm afraid he would have returned in vain today. Break. As soon as Qi Dao pointed out, all the glowing magic circle runes in the large space in front were destroyed. In front of an immortal Taoist creature, the immortal formation is vulnerable. After all, it is not a real immortal Tao creature guarding this place. Boom! The monstrous immortal Tao rules were suppressed, and the great formation in front was shattered and turned into nothing. But soon, more terrifying runes flickered on the wall of the immortal pass. Among them, there are even revivals of sword light, fist seal, sword intent, etc., which are the terrible marks left by those powerful figures on the wall of Xiangguan City. Now they have all recovered, and the suppression is towards Qi Dao. Suppression. Qi Dao didn't care so much. He held the immortal transformation immortal bell and slammed it on it, erasing all these marks. Finally, the defenders inside the Xiongguan city wall were alerted, and dozens of people looked over. Even these people guarding the walls of Xiongguan city are at least at the level of half immortality. For those who want to achieve immortality in the world, this is simply a purgatory difficulty, and it is impossible to successfully break into it. Be bold. Who dares to trespass into the immortal realm? I wonder if the immortal pass has been closed for a long time and is not open to the lower world. I would like to advise you, don't die here in vain. A soldier guarding Xiongguan said. He wears black gold armor and holds a half-step immortal spear. He is menacing, powerful and terrifying. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a huge pressure came directly. It was the supreme power of immortality, crushing everything. Plop, plop. The soldiers guarding the Xiongguan all fell to their knees under the shock of the immortal power, unable to even raise their heads. How can it be? How could there be a terrifying person at the immortal level knocking on the door? Didn't you say that you can't become an immortal in this world? The soldiers guarding the immortal pass were immediately shocked, and they resisted the urge to vomit blood. At this moment, Qi Dao has arrived outside Xiongguan. He doesn't plan to go through the city gate, but directly crosses the immortal pass and steps into the immortal world behind. I don't mean to target you, and don't compare yourself to me. I'm coming to immortal world, and no one can stop me from coming. Qi Dao is extremely powerful. With his hands behind his back, his sky-high law manifestation can burst the entire world. At this moment, Qi Dao's figure is tall and terrifying, with supreme immortal power. With one step, he crossed the entire Xiongguan Tower, as if it were nothing. This Xiongguan City Tower, which isolates the lower realm, is simply a small mound in front of him, not worth mentioning at all. Oh my God! The soldiers guarding the city were all terrified. At this moment, they were lying on the ground, feeling that the end was approaching. They also want to resist, but this kind of coercion is really terrifying. There is a huge gap between them and them. They are no longer in the ordinary stage. In front of Qi Dao, he can kill them thousands of times with just one thought. However, just when Qi Dao was about to enter the Immortal Pass completely, a terrible treasure was finally awakened and woke up in the Immortal Pass Tower. Then, a decree flashed across and appeared directly in front of Qi Dao, preventing him from entering the Immortal Pass. Anyone who breaks into the immortal world without permission will be killed without mercy. This is a line of words left on the golden decree, filled with the majesty of the immortal Tao, with terrifying thunder intertwining. Obviously, this is the work of a supreme figure, just to cope with the current situation. Why, a decree also wants to prevent me from entering the immortal world. It's better if you come in person. Qi Dao snorted coldly, shaking the long river of time. The next moment, he grabbed it with his bare hands, and the immortal Tao rules tore directly into the void, and countless rules of heaven and earth were broken and reorganized. Rumble. Not to be outdone, the golden edict burst out with dazzling golden light after its recovery, and every word on it turned into a terrifying means to suppress Qi Dao. When, without saying a word, Qi Dao directly attached the immortal transformation fairy bell to the decree, completely sealing the power of the decree. I told you, it's about less for you to come in person. You want to prevent me from entering the immortal world, dream. Qi Dao had no expression on his face, shook the fairy bell in his hand, and directly refined the decree. Finally, Qi Dao discovered a mark left behind after the destruction of the decree. It was a very heroic young man looking up at him. This glance penetrates endless time and space, comes from the immortal world, and represents the supreme will. Roll. Qi Dao doesn't care what it is, he will smash this brand with one punch. This made the soldiers guarding the immortal pass even more frightened. What kind of terrifying existence is this? That was the decree left by the immortal king of Guangyi himself, and it was shattered like this. This man, could he be here to start a war? They were inexplicably frightened. The terrifying existence made their scalps numb and they could not fathom it. Crossing the immortal pass and entering the immortal world. After Qi Dao solved this hidden danger, his eyes were as bright as fire, and his terrifying eyes seemed to have transmigrated for eternity. The next moment, he came directly to the world barrier behind the immortal pass. After passing this barrier, there was the vast immortal world. Without any hesitation, Qi Dao stepped over. In an instant, he was rejected by the rules of the immortal world. Thunder and lightning roared, which was a terrible immortal disaster. However, Qi Dao opened his mouth and swallowed the immortal tribulation directly, sinking into the immortal world as a minister without looking back. Boom! The true form of Qi Dao transmigrated the barriers of the immortal world and completely entered the big world of the immortal world. Almost at the same time, the rules of heaven and earth sensed the intrusion of the misfit, Gai Qi Dao, and another terrifying power of rules came down to exclude Qi Dao. This time the noise was huge, even more terrifying than when they crossed the immortal pass just now. It was as if a big hole had appeared in the sky. This made Qi Dao frown. He came in and didn't even have a chance to take a look at what the immortal world looked like. As a result, another piece of the power of the rules came crashing down. It's endless, right? Qi Dao looked indifferent and pointed out that the immense power of immortal Dao crushed these rules of heaven and earth. At the same time, he also felt that he had undergone some changes after being tempered by the rules of heaven and earth, and the force of rejection was not as strong as it was at the beginning. Do you need me to remove the scent of different worlds from my body? Qi Dao guessed something. There will be a certain repulsive force between the two different worlds, which will either change the original aura of the body, or keep being struck by lightning. After thinking clearly, Qi Dao could only absorb the rules of the immortal world to change his own original aura, so as not to be struck by lightning all the time. At the same time, he was glad that he was not rejected because of the new Taoism system in his body, otherwise it might have caused even more terrifying news. After a while, Qi Dao seemed to have been reborn, and the immortal world's rejection of him was no longer so strong. But just when Qi Dao thought everything was fine, a terrifying murderous intention emerged. At the same time, a pair of eyes appeared vaguely in the vast sky, coming over with huge pressure. I forced my way into the immortal pass, and was targeted by beings in the immortal world. Qi Dao thought of the layout of the immortal pass. It was clear that no creature from the lower world would be allowed to enter the immortal world again. Although he didn't know why, he was a little surprised now that he broke in and caused such big noises one after another. Someone is coming. After Qi Dao thought about it, Xishan Lingling immediately noticed that there was an aura of the same level approaching. Anyone who breaks into the immortal world without permission will be killed without mercy. Execute now. A cold and mechanical voice came, which immediately attracted Qi Dao's 100% attention. Listen to this voice. Why does it sound like a robot? Before Qi Dao could think about it, a black shadow fell from the sky, holding a scale and smashing it down. Boom! There was a terrifying power of order on the scale, which directly smashed the void, and at the same time caused turmoil in the frontier area of the immortal world. Qi Dao did not resist, and appeared 100,000 miles away in a flash, then his eyes shone as he looked at this creature that fell from the sky. Sure enough, this is a robot. Unlike the robots in Qi Dao's cognition, this is a terrifying creature with mechanical flesh and blood. In other words, the machine gave birth to intelligence, and then gave birth to flesh and blood. Machinery and flesh and blood were indistinguishable from each other, and then they became immortal-level existences. This is mechanical ascension in the true sense of the word. Interesting. Handheld scales, mechanical ascension, birth of flesh and blood, there are still such creatures in the world. Qi Dao narrowed his eyes and looked around silently. At this time, he found a sign on the other party's chest, with two large characters exuding immortality imprinted on it. Order. Kill the aliens who trespass into the immortal world. Combat strength evaluation. Unable to evaluate. Danger level. Great terror. Kill without mercy. The creature with mechanical flesh and blood in front of me took action again, but it didn't look very smart. It was still just carrying out the task according to the instructions, and wanted to kill Qi Dao. Boom! The terrifying war broke out again, a collision at the level of immortal Dao. This time, Qi Dao had a clear understanding of it. The creature with immortal strength in front of me is still controlled by others, and the power in the body is given, not cultivated by oneself. What makes Qi Dao feel even more anomaly is that there is a decaying black energy in the body of this mechanical creature. He is very sensitive to this rotten black energy, because this is the atmosphere of the age of the end of the Dharma in the world. Qi Dao is very familiar with this kind of aura of the end of law. The will of the great Tao once said that the root of the Dharma ending age does not lie in it. Could it be that in this immortal world? Qi Dao was shocked, but he clearly did not feel that the immortal world was in the end of the Dharma era. The aura was still strong and had the power of immortality. Even ordinary people could live forever in the immortal world. This seems a bit weird. What's even more puzzling is who has such great means to give an ordinary mechanical flesh and blood creature immortal level strength. His intuition told him that there might be more such mechanical flesh and blood creatures in the immortal world. It's terrifying to think about it all. Qi Dao secretly wrote these down in his heart, and there was no time to think too much for the time being. Quote. Qi Dao used the immortal transformation scripture to further fight against the mechanical creatures in front of him, instantly destroying the vast land thousands of miles under his feet. Fortunately, this place is located in the remote area of the immortal world, and it has not affected any living beings. And just as Qi Dao was fighting with the mechanical creature in front of him, the pair of eyes in the sky stared directly at him, making Qi Dao's scalp numb. Qi Dao is convinced that this is definitely a big shot looking down at the immortal world, with strength beyond the immortal level. Roll. I don't have time to waste with you. Qi Dao secretly thought something was wrong, so he struck harder and harder, forcing the mechanical creatures back again and again. Afterwards, Qi Dao turned around and left. He didn't want to be targeted by some old monsters just after entering the immortal world. He needed to reunite for a while. However, while he was fighting the mechanical creature, 3 more powerful creatures arrived, all of which had immortal level strength. At first, Qi Dao saw that they looked different, some were monster race, and some were human race, so he thought they were from different forces. It wasn't until they got closer that Qi Dao discovered that these were mechanical creatures of flesh and blood, and they were also endowed with immortal power, holding the same scales and chasing him. Moreover, on their chests, there is a hot gold plate with the word, order, branded on it. How can you represent order? Qi Dao did not look back, concealed his aura, directly tore through the void and appeared hundreds of millions of miles away. However, the 4 mechanical flesh and blood creatures were still pursuing him and seemed to know his escape route. It didn't take long for Qi Dao to finally understand why. The gaze of the pair of eyes in the sky continued to follow him, having already locked onto his aura. No matter where Qi Dao goes, he can't escape the tracking of the Dharma Eye, and as time goes by, more mechanical and fleshy creatures will come after him. This doubles the pressure on Qi Dao. Who could have imagined that such a thing would happen just after entering the immortal world? The immortal world is really vast. Even a remote area on the edge of the world is countless times larger than the entire universe in the lower world. Qi Dao didn't even know that this was the first time he had torn the void apart, but there was still a barren area under his feet. Behind him, there are already 6 mechanical creatures chasing him, and the number is even increasing. You know, these are terrifying creatures with immortal strength. This number is even more mind-numbing. Who dares to resist? The only good thing is that these mechanical flesh and blood creatures do not have their own intelligence, they just mechanically execute the orders given to them by a certain supreme being. They are maintaining order. Boom. Another war broke out directly, and the terrifying immortal Tao rules stirred up, sweeping across the area within hundreds of millions of miles. This time it was Qi Dao who took the initiative to fight back because he realized that running away all the time was not an option and he could not completely get rid of the opponent. Instead of doing this, Qi Dao simply turned back to fight, and an immortal transformation punch directly blew out the arm of a mechanical flesh and blood creature. This made Qi Dao happy. This kind of mechanical flesh and blood creature is weaker than the real immortal Tao creature. After all, the power I was given is not as good as me who really set foot on immortal Tao. What's more, I have a new Taoist system. Qi Dao's eyes shone brightly, he already knew what was happening and no longer ran away. Time goes against the grain, and the past and the present stand side by side. Chaos Immortal Sutra, destroy everything. Qi Dao took action with confidence, ignoring the eyes in the sky that were staring at him. He was convinced that the owner of these eyes could not leave for the time being and had no time to take care of himself. Otherwise, that terrible creature should have arrived in this area long ago and wouldn't be staring at you all the time. Boom. Qi Dao opens and closes greatly. After possessing the rules of immortal Tao, it is no longer possible for him to use the 5 supreme scriptures. The time warp broke out, and the area he was in was directly separated from the 5 mechanical flesh and blood creatures in it, and they stood in different time and space. Then, Qi Dao used the Chaos Immortal Sutra to maximize the power of flesh and blood in his body, staring closely at the mechanical flesh and blood creatures that came from the same time and space as himself. This is a mechanical crane. Boom! The mechanical crane in front of him was also not to be outdone, and used the scale in his hand to carry Dao's force area. It can be seen that the scale is glowing with strong immortal Dao rules, measuring and dissolving the power of Qi Dao's attack. As a result, in the next second, the balance was seriously unbalanced and completely tipped to Qi Dao's side. Without any surprise, Qi Dao's punch directly shattered the opponent. The mechanical flesh and blood body was vulnerable to Qi Dao's full punch and was directly penetrated. After all, this is not a real immortal Dao creature, and it really does not pose any threat to Qi Dao. If I hadn't had concerns and didn't understand them before, I would have solved them long ago and wouldn't have waited until now. Next, Qi Dao used the time warp again and placed one of the mechanical flesh and blood creatures in his own time and space. As for the remaining 4 mechanical flesh and blood creatures, they are using the scales in their hands to bombard the power of the time warp in an attempt to escape from that different time. This time Qi Dao directly used his immortal transformation fairy bell. What he wanted was to kill him as soon as possible to avoid attracting more mechanical flesh and blood creatures. Although even if he kills them all, there is still that eye in the sky that is always staring at him. The immortal transformation fairy bell revived, and the tens of thousands of immortal Dao rules above it fell down, crushing everything. This is not a simple immortal Dao rule, but also the power of Qi Dao's new system of Dao, which cannot be blocked by the old system of Dao. In this immortal world, the old Dao body system has not collapsed or disintegrated, because it is not the end of the Dharma era and has never been overturned. Puff! The second mechanical creature was killed cleanly by Qi Dao, leaving no trace at all. Then came the third and fourth. Under the full force of Qi Dao, these so-called mechanical flesh and blood creatures of the same level, spirit root, were no match at all and were killed in less than 10 rounds. Without using a stick of incense, Qi Dao killed these mechanical flesh and blood creatures in front of the eyes in the sky, leaving no one alive. Then, while the other mechanical flesh and blood creatures were still approaching, Qi Dao escaped again. However, this time Qi Dao changed his mind and escaped directly into a zone millions of miles deep underground. Unexpectedly, after escaping down, it really had a miraculous effect. Qi Dao keenly felt that the gaze on him in the sky had become weaker. While that gaze was scanning the land, Qi Dao fled again in a certain direction, and did not stop until hundreds of millions of miles later. The pressure hanging over my head has finally completely disappeared. Qi Dao breathed a sigh of relief, but did not leave the underground immediately. Instead, he prepared to retreat on the spot to eradicate the breath from his body. The breath of those mechanical flesh and blood creatures actually touches my body, trying to make me start to decay too. Moreover, this seems to be some kind of mark. I must erase it as soon as possible. Qi Dao noticed the current situation and immediately used the Taoism of the new system to cleanse his body over and over again until he confirmed that no marks were left on his body. To be on the safe side, he drew in the power of the rules of the immortal world to change Root Bone's aura, allowing himself to completely integrate into the immortal world so that he would not be ostracized again. In other words, the power of the rules of immortal world seems to be able to enhance the power of my flesh and blood and further develop the potential in my body. It's not impossible to retreat here for a while first, and then leave here after the weather calms down. Qi Dao thought about it in his mind and began to absorb the power of rules. The essence of his new system's Taoism still needs to be improved from itself. Although he cannot absorb the spiritual energy between heaven and earth for his own use, he can replenish his flesh and blood through the power of the rules of heaven and earth and the origin of Guankai Dabao. In this way, as the flesh and blood grow stronger, the potential that can be developed will naturally become stronger, and the realm will naturally improve accordingly. Therefore, Qi Dao spent the next month in retreat, using the power of the rules of the immortal world to change the potential of flesh and blood and further enhance his strength. Since opening up the realm of immortal transformation, Qi Dao has not really improved his cultivation level. In this large realm, he divided it into 4 levels. They are basic accomplishment, great accomplishment, perfection and peak. Now, his realm strength has only reached the great accomplishment level of immortal transformation realm, and there is still some improvement distance from the peak. Only when he reaches the peak level of immortal transformation can he further open up the next great realm. For this reason, Qi Dao has made preparations in advance and needs to be stable for a period of time. Otherwise, it would be terrible if the black account of the immortal world is exposed. If the new system of Taoism in the body is also exposed, I am afraid that it will be wiped out on the same day. In this unfamiliar immortal world, you still need to be a little more steady at the beginning. Immortal world, amidst fairy palaces and pavilions. There is a terrifying figure sitting cross-legged in the center of the huge immortal palace. The entire body is bathed in immortal matter. The secret of heaven is unpredictable. At this moment, he suddenly opened his eyes, and at the same time withdrew his divine ability, his brows furrowed. I can't find it. How is it possible? Even if he escaped underground, there should be traces to follow, but he seems to have disappeared from the world. He whispered, exuding a terrifying king-level coercion, which made the boy serving beside him couldn't help but tremble. Sir, who is it that makes you bother yourself? Isn't there an executor coming forward? Fairy boy wondered. My master is high above, looking down at the eternity. Everything is under control, but today it is rare to say such a thing. The executor can't stop the person who broke in from the immortal pass. That's a fairy. It's not very pleasant for a terrifying being bathed in immortal matter to speak. There are things in the immortal world that are beyond his control. This feels very bad. What, isn't it true that the lower realm has long been unable to become an immortal? Under the control of the immortal gate, it is rarely possible to become a human being. Even if it manifests, it will only be fleeting. Someone can actually become an immortal in the lower realm and break in through the immortal gate. Fairy Tong was shocked and took a breath of cold air. What kind of person is this? So, this matter is important, and I'm afraid it will be a variable. Now, he doesn't know what means he used, but he can even blind my eyes. It's gone. Even if I deduce the secret, I will encounter terrible backlash and cannot trace it. The Tao of characters among immortal matter. Fairy Tong was even more shocked. He stood there for a long time before speaking again. Sir, do you need me to go down there? No, at this juncture, not only me, but you can't leave even half a step. That person first sends more executors to search. As long as it is in this immortal world, they can always find it. Also, how's the progress of Dragon Race going? According to what you and your lords want, a wanted order has been issued. The Dragon Race has been regarded as an alien race, and the Enforcer and other members of the big race are hunting for it. Shantong immediately replied, that old Dragon King is a bit difficult to deal with. It seems I have to go there myself. 1.5 months later, Qi Dao came out of seclusion, his strength has improved, and he has reached the perfect level of immortal transformation. It's time to go. I need to find some natural and earthly treasures that can help me quickly improve my strength. In this immortal world, there should be great medicine of immortal level quality. Qi Dao secretly said, in an environment like the immortal world, even an ordinary mortal grass that grows here for a long time should be turned into a great medicine of immortal level quality. After all, there is immortal material here that is not available in the lower world. Before going out, Qi Dao was very cautious. He first scanned the ground above with his powerful spiritual thoughts and found that there were still mechanical creatures of flesh and blood patrolling around. He did not give up. Moreover, these mechanical flesh and blood creatures also use some kind of law treasure that can make people visible, and no one can easily escape. If Qi Dao hadn't contained all of his aura through the Taoism of the new system, he might not have been able to hold on for long before he was found. You really don't want to give up. You can just search here slowly. I won't accompany you anymore. Qi Dao snorted in his heart and fled directly from the ground. During this period, he also encountered mechanical flesh and blood creatures searching underground, but he had foreseen them in advance and avoided them. After 5 days of sneaking in a zone millions of miles underground, Qi Dao appeared in a zone 10 trillion miles away from the borderland of immortal world. There are a small number of cultivators here, and whether they come or leave, they pass through a huge formation. In this vast immortal world, ordinary practitioners use magic circles to span long distances. Otherwise, if you don't reach the level of immortality, you will quickly cross hundreds of millions of miles. Even if immortal level beings want to cross the huge immortal world zone, they need to use a large formation. The immortal world is really too vast. Qi Dao immediately changed its appearance after it appeared, and even its own origin was changed through the Taoism of the new system. Unless those terrifying beings beyond the level of immortality come to him, no one can see through his true form. Sure enough, there are mechanical creatures of flesh and blood guarding this place. After Qi Dao arrived near the formation, he found that there were people like this checking people who left. They will scan the origin of each person through their spiritual consciousness and identify them in this way. Qi Dao smiled and disagreed. No one at the same level can see through his true identity. Stop. The mechanical flesh and blood creature stopped Qi Dao after his transformation, and then searched for the origin. Sure enough, no abnormality was found, so he let him go. Without any hesitation, Qi Dao directly boarded the cross-domain magic circle. When the magic circle revived and the immortal light spread across the sky, he disappeared directly from here. When he appeared again, Qi Dao had already appeared hundreds of millions of miles away. He doesn't care where it is, as long as he can get rid of those mechanical flesh and blood creatures. Tiandu City. Qi Dao glanced at the three big characters on the tower, and then stepped into this huge fairy city. The first impression it gave him was that of prosperity. Tiandu City is full of vitality and rich in immortality. There are vendors selling goods in every street and alley. What is different from the lower realm is that although these vendors are mortals, they are all old monsters who have lived for a long time, and their lifespans are frightening. Just ask any old man how old he is, and he'll tell you he's tens of millions of years old. Is this the immortal world? It's really extraordinary. Qi Dao was a little speechless, sighing in his heart that reincarnation is really important. If you were reincarnated in this immortal world from the beginning, why would you worry about cultivation and lifespan? After that, Qi Dao briefly visited Tiandu City and felt the immortal breath dormant in Tiandu City. In this Tiandu City, there is an immortal who is sitting in person. After Qi Dao sensed it, he quickly restrained his spiritual thoughts to avoid being perceived by the other party. Soon after, Qi Dao entered a restaurant to inquire about information. As a result, as soon as he entered the restaurant, he discovered his extremely clear portrait, with the two characters, "Wanted," clearly written on it. At the bottom, the words, "Great Terror," are specially marked. It's so honorable to me. The wanted order has been prepared. It's quite interesting. However, Qi Dao is wanted. What does it have to do with me, Qi Shou? Qi Dao shook his head. He had given himself a new name to avoid this situation, although no one knew what his real name was. But in a mortal world, it's better to be more conservative. At the same time, Dao was surprised to find that there was another wanted warrant next to his own. The wanted object is True Dragon Race 7. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.